Hey learners, welcome to this complete tutorial on Microsoft Excel. We all know Microsoft Excel is a powerful tool to store data, share data, and easily interpret the relevant data. Microsoft Excel has been in existence for a long time. Most of us might have played around the software during our childhood, even when we didn't know what actually it does for us. And today, if I'm giving a complete tutorial on Microsoft Excel, you can easily understand the kind of importance the software is having. It has been in the market for a long time and continues to dominate the market even now. In Microsoft Excel, we'll be able to understand the data, interpret the relevant data in the right sense, and never miss out on any of the important points, and thereby take the necessary actions after studying the data. Let it be any basic calculations, accounting, visual representation of data, or even for forecasting the future requirements. So join us in the complete tutorial on Microsoft Excel and become an expert. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on this video any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.
Hi everyone, welcome to the course of Data Analytics with Excel. In this course, we'll be dealing with all the data analytical concepts such as data wrangling, data cleaning, visualization, how to apply regression models in Excel particularly. Now Excel, what is Excel? Excel was built by Charles in 1985. Today, around 16% of the population present on the earth has used Excel until now. And Excel is used to store all sorts of data into tabular format. You can make presentations, give graphs, make graphs, and anything related to data. So you can have characters or numerical data, strings, Boolean values, everything which are used for data processing can be stored on Excel. So we have different small elements in Excel. So one of it is cell. This is the basic part of Excel, and Excel can have more than 17 billion cells. So let's start with this course and see how can we juggle around Excel with data analytics. Okay, so this is how the Excel sheet looks like. This is where we store our data. You can have any data in whatever format you want to have stored it over here. It could be like numbers. You just have to write numbers, hit enter, store. So whatever the data is, it would stored in a tabular format. That would be columns and rows. So we have n number of columns and rows in Excel. You can have multiple sheets as well in Excel to have different type of data stored in different sheets. So this is how you add sheet from here. You can rename your sheet, store it by a store name. Maybe if you are into marketing or e-commerce data is there, somewhat offline market, so you can have store wise sheets present over here for different kind of rates and prices for the products. Then so this particular block of Excel is called a cell. It could have somewhere around 17 billion cells in Excel. So this is the part where you can have this is the part which is called as ribbons. You have multiple functions, different file formats, different indentations, alignments present over here. So all of these things we'll be covering in the coming videos for our data wrangling concepts. You have multiple tabs over here like insert. If you want to insert any kind of particular pivot table, graphs, so you'll need to come to this insert ribbon for this particular operations. Then you can use handy provided predefined functions in Excel, which is a boon in Excel. That is why most of us use Excel without coding. You can get graphs into it. Then you have different kinds of page layouts. If you want to set margins, different colors, everything could be used by coming into this particular tab. This is the most important ribbon. Here we have all the arithmetic operations present over here. So by default, Excel has many different functions present here related to finance, related to logical operators, text, date, lookup tables, trigonometric operators. Everything is present in Excel predefined. But still, if you want to write something on your own and define a particular function which is not there, you can write your function over here, and then it could be just used as a generalized method for all the operations you can perform. Data, if you want to perform anything related to the data, like if you want to sort it, if you want to filter out something, then if you want to give some conditions, you want to name your range, declare a variable, something like this is the part where you'll have to come for these kind of operations. Then for reviewing, you have the screen. For spelling check or any other thing, like if you are having some kind of text and you want to go around, like if all the spellings in that are correct or not, you can come to this window for reviewing purposes. This is a different kind of options which in Excel has. This is all about the view. So if you want to see less data, you can zoom in, zoom out, you can see multiple pages, everything like that could be done from this page view. So in this module, the first topic which we'll be studying would be data manipulation with Excel. So data manipulation has all the concepts of tables, cell reference, borders, basic functions, how to name a formula, how to write a data function, sorting data, filtering out data, and if else. So let's start with what the referencing in Excel means. Cell referencing is actually how do we access a particular data out of the Excel. So if we want to access some particular value, we access it through the coordinates or the reference points which we have in Excel. So if we want to check what actually the cell referencing points are, so the numbers which are there in the margins, in the left and the top margins, are the labels or the referencing points through which we can access the data. So if you want to access some particular value, like whatever is there in this first cell, you'll just access it by clicking it over here, or else this would be referred as A1. If you want to access some value which is there in this position, so you'll just write B1. So if I want to access this 1, 2 and 3 over here, I'll just check whatever is the top axis, that is C, and in the left hand side, that is 5. So this would be C5. Okay, so this is what is called as referencing. So now referencing has particularly 3 types, that would be relative, absolute, and mixed. So what is relative, absolute, and mixed referencing? So by default, the type of referencing used in Excel is relative. Now let's see how relative accessing in Excel is. So say for example, I'll just create a value over here. So if we have defined this particular block as 1, 2 and 3, and again this particular block as 3, 2, 1. So the value at B49 is 1, 2, 3, and the value at 329, the value 329 is present there over at B50. So if I want to add these two values at a block, and I want to have that sum at a particular block, that is C51, which would be having sum of say n number of values, or particularly these two values in this scenario, I'll just write equals to you have to write whenever you are performing any kind of operation, and then I'll refer to this cell. So you can refer to this cell by clicking on control and or by directly clicking over there. Just add plus operator, select the other cell, hit enter. So this is how you referred these two values by this reference point B50 and B51, B49 and B51, and stored the sum at C51. So this is how you access it. Now if you want to perform this access in a tabular fashion, you need to define a generalized formula for it. We'll see that. So let's see how the referencing goes into a table. So this particular block is called as a table in Excel. You already have, whenever you load the data set in the form of Excel, you have it as a raw format. Then if you want to give some particular entities as your headings or titles, you need to just hit Control Tab over here. By selecting any of the cell, you just need to hit Control Tab. Since this is already in a table format, it won't work over here, but we can like just hit Control Tab and hit OK. It would get converted into a table. So table is an entity using which we can add multiple columns, and you just have to define a formula once in any of the cell, and then it gets generalized. So this is the advantage which we have in table. We'll see that, but before that, let's see how this referencing would work. So like I did previously, I just selected this particular column, and here I just added these two and hit enter. So this is the position I got. So this is the 646 is the sum of 123 and 523. Now if I want to generalize this to the whole table, so that every time this gets added to this and is stored it over here in this particular cell, so what I'll do for this is I'll just click over here and expand this till where I want to have summations. So this is how you just add over it. So you just have to click over here and just expand this. The function which we have written once gets generalized for all the cells. This is relative referencing, where we have not used any kind of operator. It is just the formula, the referencing cells. So now if you want to just write the formula as well, like this position C5, so if I write C5 and then add this position, that would be D5, still you will get the same answer. So you have two methods. You can either type it out or else directly hit Control on the keyboard and select whatever the entries you want to select. Then the generalization works in the very similar manner. Okay. So yes, so now we want to see absolute referencing. So for that, let's have this one value, which is the 10% value of ours, and we want to calculate 10% of all this product's prices. So say for example, if we are having any kind of festival and if we want to perform 10% discount on all the products, so for that we'll need an updated data set which would have 10% values of all the data set. So what we'll do for that is equals to, we'll just write equals to, then select the 10% value, but since we want to perform this 10% value operation on all the operators, so for that we'll need to add a $ before and after the I, that is the variable which we have selected, and then give multiplication operator since we have to calculate the 10%, and select a particular cell. So since this cell belongs to this table, that is why this code is coming over here. But if you want, you can just simply write the reference point of the cell as well, that is C5. So this is the 10% value of our product 1. Now say if you want to apply it to product 2 as well, or all the products in your first column, so you will get it like this. And now you want to calculate 10% of all the product 2 as well. So for expanding this to product 2 as well, you will just have to select this from here, expand it to one more product of product 2, and then just generalize it by taking it till the point you want it in your table. So all of this product 1 column and product 2 column, all the values of this table are the 10% values of this table. This is how, if you want to calculate it with respect to a particular value, that is 0.1, and perform keeping this value constant, if you want to apply it to all the products, you need to add a $sign before and after. Now you have third type, that is mixed referencing, in which we change this particular value, and like we have multiple values in it. Like in relative we just had one-on-one values, in absolute we had one value into all the multiple values of the table. So in mixed, what we'll have multiple values over here as well, which would change according to the table. So let's see how this mixed value is working. Now after seeing absolute and relative referencing, let's try to see the third type of referencing, that is mixed referencing. So what is mixed referencing? In this we are having two different set of values which are to be calculated with two different set of discounts. So what was the scenario in absolute referencing? If you might recollect, we had to multiply the whole value with only 10% of the whole data set, right? So we needed to calculate 10% of the product 1 values and product 2 values and store it over here. Now what we'll be doing in mixed referencing is that we have to calculate 10% of all the values as well as 20% of all the values. So we have 0.1 as well as 0.2, that would be your 20%. And since here we have stored only the 10% value out of all these values, right? 10% value of this particular values for each cell. Now what we'll try to do over here, we'll try to check and give 20% discount on all these products price. So now let's take an example that we have a particular situation in which we have two products A and B, and since festival season is coming along, we are trying to giving discount. So we are running a discounted period of 2 days. So whoever is going to come in our shop, we'll be giving the discount on day 1 as 20%, and on day 2 we'll be giving the discount as 10%. So we needed the updated values of 20% and 10%. So for that, what we'll be doing is we will need to write this 10% and 20% over here. So this is like previously we just wrote 10 is equals to 10%. You can directly as well write 20% and 10%. And this is the table, which is the updated table. In this table we want A as our first row, B as our second row, and the first column is day 1 and day 2 is the second column. Now this is the position where 20% discounted price of our product A would be stored. This is the place where 10% price, reduced price of our product A would be stored. So for that, how would be the formula for this? We know that if we want to calculate 20%, so you can either go by calculating 20% and then removing that value from the whole, or else you could directly try to calculate 80% of the whole value. Now let's try to take the long way and try to calculate first the 20% and then remove the 20% out of the 100% and get the 80% value. Okay, so as to see how the formula is being made. Now what we have done over here is we have selected C28 by normal referencing. So what is this C28? This is the price of first product, that is product A. Now we needed to calculate 80% of this product A. So what we'll do, we'll multiply it by 1 and calculate 20% of it, then subtract it and store it in this position. So that would be 80% of the product, right? That is 1 minus whatever we are getting the ratio of 20% of it into the original value. That would be our 80% value of the product. Now the change or the difference, what we should observe over here is that we have this particular $sign over here. Now what does this $sign does is, now say if I don't write this $sign over here and hit enter, I'll get a particular value. Now if I'll expand it, say vertically, what will happen? It won't multiply anything with this 50. So this 50 is coming as it was over here because it is just below this. Nothing is performed. Now, but what we wanted 20% of 50 as well to be shown over here. So for that, since we want to perform operation column wise, which we saw over here, since we wanted to perform the operation column wise as well as row wise, for this particular one we use this dollar sign before and after. Now what we'll do over here is we'll try to restrict it to only column wise operation. So we'll use a dollar sign before our C, and here we'll use it after our C, so as to get it row wise and column wise. So this C would be for row wise, that is this 10% selection of this, since we are using this dollar sign after C in C33 referencing, that is our this point. So this would take this value, and in C22 it would take this value after that. So when we'll hit enter over here, we'll just get the same value. Now we'll need to update this, so just drag it over here. You can see that this is the 20% value of 50, and when you will stretch it this to your right, you will get 10% of this 10, and if you will stretch this further south, that is down, you will get 10% of 50 as well. So that is after removing 10% of 50, that would be 45. So this is how you apply marginal referencing. So just to sum up, what was our marginal, relative and absolute referencing? These are the standard referencing techniques when we want to write the formula once and then use all of this to generalize to the whole table. Okay, so here we just wrote the formula once, added this to, and like dragged this till the end. So this operation was performed on both A and B. In our absolute referencing, we took 10% value over here, and then we needed to calculate and store 10% value of all the values in product 1 and product 2. So what we did, we selected our point 1, give a dollar sign before and after I, that is the column, and multiplied it to this and then generalized it. Here we use dollar sign before and after I because we wanted to go row wise, column wise and row wise multiplication with point 1. Now here what we'll be doing, we wanted to perform column wise operation in this particular table, that is this particular cell. That is why what we did, we took this C dollar sign before C. That is why we are getting column wise operator, and we wanted to perform row wise operation with this particular data, so we took dollar after the C referencing point, and when we hit enter we got the values, and when we tried to generalize it, it came like the 20% discounted price of this particular values are being stored over here, and this is the 10% discounted price of 150, that is 90 and 45 stored over here. Okay, so this was in short your referencing in Excel. So this is how you can like save a lot of time by calculating this values directly by writing the formula only once and then generalizing it to the whole column. Now let's try to find out what tables in Excel are. So table is the feature of Excel in which you can have many useful features such as sorting, filtering and all other functions to it. You just have to write the formula once and then just try to generalize it and try to get all the values with whatever you want applied throughout the row or column. So it is very easy and convenient to perform this operation. But before that, when you have raw data loaded in your Excel or whatever the entries which you have made on your own in Excel, you'll need to first convert it into format of table. So for that, you'll have to just go to the ribbon, insert, hit the table button, and like before it you should select any cell and just select the range of the data whatever you want it as a table, and then go ahead. You have a shortcut key as well for this, that would be Control T. Directly the tab for selecting the range would appear. You just have to select that. Now let's try to see how it is done. So this is my data set in which I have all the entries. So my first column is ID, and second is fname, which is just the general name which I have created as a dummy data set. So all the names are A, then B, C, D. Similarly, we have second name, that is your surname, starting from P, W, X, Y. Third and the fourth column would be sex, that would be your male, female. Date of birth, marks in mathematics, marks in physics, marks in chemistry, location, and stream. So you could consider that this is a data set of say 12th grade students, in which we have their ID numbers, their first name, second name, their sex, their date of birth, their marks in maths, physics, chemistry, the location where they give exam, and what was their background in this. Okay, so now we need to convert this data into table, wherein all of this would get converted as my headings or headers, and this everything would be my data. So what should we do? So as we know that we should get into insert first, then hit this table, or else what you can also see over here, you got the shortcut key for that as a help, that Control T is the shortcut to get directly what we want. Where you can try that, you'll get this particular block. This would select all the range. You just make sure that you just click a single cell, so all the continuous values in row and columns would be selected from here. So whatever the value would be, and the top row, if your top column or the top row is your headers, then you just have to select this checkbox. If not, then just uncheck it. When you just have to hit OK. So when you hit OK to this, the whole thing will get converted into a table. So this is a table which is having different type of table styles. So whenever you will be in the table, you'll come automatically into this design part of it. And if you want to rename your table, you just have to change the name. Default it is given the name as table 7. I could like rename it to score 12. So this could be scores and data of my 12 standard students. And whenever you will hit on any cell, you'll again come to this design part, and you'll get to see the name of the table. So this would be used, this score 12 could be used as my reference point for or as a reference name for this total, for this table. Now say you have many different table styles in this. If you want to change it to this style, this, you whatever suits your eyes, you can give the type of pattern or the style of table to this. So we'll try to keep this one. Now you can perform all kind of different operations in this table. So your sorting, your arithmetic calculation, your filtering, everything can be there. But major difference what general your data and this table is that you can see this small bars coming over here, the small buttons coming over here. These are the filter buttons, and if you'll uncheck this block, those would be gone. So this could be used as a filter, which we'll be seeing in later on sessions, but for now just keep this on. Now say for example, I'll just try to tell you what is the ease of making a table. So say for example, if we want to calculate sum of maths, physics and chemistry and add a column sum over here. So we'll just write sum and give a heading. As soon as I wrote sum and hit enter, it automatically converted this particular thing into my column of this particular data set. Now you just have to define a formula in the first cell. What is the formula for this? You just have to write formula based on your first cell. So what is the reference point of this cell? F2. So just select F2, or else if you are getting confused by this name, you can just write F2 as well over there. Hit plus, select this, hit plus, select chemistry marks, hit enter. So you automatically calculated the first row sum, that is 48 plus 23 plus 1, 72, and then as soon as you hit enter, this everything was considered as one particular column, so it just generalized the operation to this particular data set. So you don't need to calculate it again and again, you just have the power to calculate it once, and then it would be generalized to the whole table. So this is the advantage of table. Now directly by hitting this, you can try to do sorting or trying to filter out marks based on whatever parameters which you want to set on this. So this was in short how to define a table and creating a particular new column into our table based on the values which we were already having in previous columns. Hi, now let's try to see what borders in Excel mean. Now you can add different types of highlighters to your particular cell. So say for example, if we have some kind of data set of say marks, and if there is a student who is underperforming and you want to highlight his marks in that particular table or that particular cell, so you could use this border function in Excel. So by default the shortcut for this would be Control Shift and or 4 on your keyboard, but if you want to customize this, you can do that as well, because by default when you'll add borders, that would be a very thin line around your cell. So if you want to do that, like change it to a very thick line, or say if you want to change the color of that border, you can do that as well. Also, if you want to remove that, you can do that by going on to the ribbon. So let's try to see this in Excel. Okay, so now let's try to see what border function in Excel means and how to add a border in Excel. So we know that shortcut for this is Control Shift and, that is Control Shift 7. So say for example, if we want to add border to this particular cell of this chemistry, which is the marks of a student AP who is performing very badly in chemistry. So say if you want to highlight it and have a border to this cell permanently, so what we could do is we could just hit Control Shift and to this, and this is how your border would be added to this. Now so even if you select any cell, this would be there. Now you also have like multiple functions in this using which you can add this border. So for that, say for example, now again I have to highlight this 72, but not with this thin line, I want some many other styles. So for that, in design section you have cell styles. So this is one way to go over there, or else you could just directly click this and go to format cells as well. So say for example, if we went through this, so these are the different line styles which are available, the cell styles which are available within Excel. So say for example, if I want to highlight it with this red background as well as the marks in red, so I'll just hit this and this would get converted into a dark red font and a light red background. So you can do this, or else if you want to make line style of your own, you can just go to new cell style, or else if you want to create cell style of your own, you could just click on this 99 wherever you want to apply that style, go to cell style, new cell style. You have to select it whatever format in which you want to add a background to it, you want to add a border to it, you want to change the format of it by highlighting it. So now let's try to make a cell style which adds border to it. So now I just selected this border. Now here it is telling that no border, so you'll need to add format to this. So let's go to this format So yes, format is there. Now let's move to border, and within this border, now try to this is a dummy cell in which you'll be selecting which format you want to, like if say I want this dark line, so just hit this dark line and hit outline. So I want it in outline or I want it in inside. You can just select whatever you want. Even if now if you don't want this line, then you have different functions for different buttons for this over here, like you can remove this by clicking over here. So I want to highlight with this cell which is not having left hand side boundary, just to make it a unique cell. So I could do this as well, or else a normal boundary. If you want to change color of this, you can like give only red color to this outline border as well. Now hit OK. Change the name of your style. So by default it's the number of style which you have made. So new, I'll name it new cell style. So this is my new style. I just hit OK, and my new cell style is defined. Now if I want to apply it over here to this 99 cell, or say 99, 70, 36, 53, all of this all together, you just have to hit Control and select all the cells which you want. Go to cell styles and you will see your new custom style over here in custom section. Just hit that and you'll get your line style. This is how you define a different line style if you want, or use by default line styles in Excel.
So at first, we'll be understanding what exactly is a formula in Excel, and then we'll be understanding how Microsoft Excel figures out that a user is going to enter a formula. Moving on to the technical part of the formula, we'll be understanding the precedence order of operators that will be used for entering the formulas. After which, we'll be directly jumping into the live Excel workbook to understand the concept of entering, copying, editing, and hiding a formula. Moving on, we'll be understanding the next major part of the video, where we'll be discussing the functions in Excel and how functions and formulas are correlated to each other, and then we also will be discussing the three major parts of a function. Also, where we'll be discussing how to view, search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel. And then coming to the concluding part of the video, that is the most exciting part of the video too, where we'll be discussing the top 10 Excel functions that every Excel user need to be aware of to make their life easier. So now let's discuss what is a formula in Excel. So as you can see on the screen, a formula in an Excel is an expression that operates on values in the range of cells or a cell, and on a mathematical point of view, it is a calculation for a specified purpose. So you might be wondering, why am I explaining a formula to you? Because we all know that we have been exposed to a ton loads of formulas right from our school days. But to understand a formula in Microsoft Excel, you also need to understand what is a range. So what exactly is a range? A range is simply a rectangular box of selected cells. So if I take the example of the snapshot that is provided, you can see there a red highlighted box, and that is exactly a rectangular box of selected cells. So now, how to name or identify a range? A range is identified by the name of the cell in the upper left corner of the range and the name of the cell on the lower right corner of the range. So, in this example, the A column intersects with the first row, and that's how it got the name A1, and the B column intersects with the row that is B3. So, to identify or name a range, that is A1 colon B3. That's how you name or identify a range. So how do you select a range? So to select a range, you just need to drag across the range or the cells you want to be in your range. So now, I think you guys have understood what exactly a range is, and you might have understood what is the relation between a formula and a range. Now, let's move on to the next topic, that is how to enter a formula. Before entering to the topic of how to enter a formula, we'll first discuss how Microsoft Excel understands that the user wants to enter a formula. So in the first example, the user inputs 22 plus 44 plus 55, and Microsoft Excel understands this input as a text only because there is a lack of equal to sign. So the equal to sign is the factor which tells MS Excel that the user wants to enter a formula. In the second example, you can see that the user has inputted equal to sign and then moved ahead to entering the formula, that is 22 plus 44 plus 55. And as soon as this is done, you can see Microsoft Excel has identified that the user is wanting to enter a formula, that is sum. This is the correct way, and on the left side, this is the incorrect way of entering the formula. So now I think you have understood how Microsoft Excel understands the user is wanting to enter a formula or not. Moving on, now we'll understand the two different ways to enter a formula. So the first way of entering the formula is by using the actual values, and the second way is by using cell references. So in the below example, you can see that we have the data sets of marks obtained by students in particular subjects, and we are trying to calculate the score obtained by Ram. In the first example, we are using the actual values obtained by Ram to calculate his score, and in the second example, we are using the cell references to calculate his total score. To understand this concept even better, we will move on to the live workbook. So here, let's start off by calculating the score using the actual values. So let's hit equal to and enter the scores obtained by Ram. 89. And then let's hit the enter button. As you can see, the total score of Ram was calculated. Now, let's use the cell reference method to calculate the total score obtained by Ram. So to do that, we'll hit equal to button, click on the cells that are required, hit the plus button, and then click on the enter button. So there you go. We have calculated the total scores by both the methods. So now let's talk about a situation wherein a faculty made an error while entering the marks, that is 76 instead of 90. So now we'll go ahead and correct this mistake. And as soon as we did this, we can see that the total score that was obtained by Ram, which was calculated using cell references, got updated, but the score that was calculated by using the actual values didn't get updated. So this is one major advantage of using cell references in formulas, because if any updation in the cells which are under reference in a formula gets updated, the final desired output also gets updated. Alright guys, so now I believe that you might have understood the two different ways to enter a formula and also the advantageous way to do the same. Now moving on to the next topic, that is precedence order of operators. The mathematical operations in Microsoft Excel works on the principle of BODMAS or PEDMAS. BODMAS accounts to the bracket order of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, and PEDMAS accounts to parenthesis of exponential, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Microsoft Excel imposes a hierarchy on the mathematical operations, and it goes like first comes exponential and then followed by the division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. But addition and subtractions are both equally ranked, and whichever Microsoft Excel encounters first gets executed first. So that's how all the priority of operators takes place in Microsoft Excel, and this plays a major role while we use mathematical operators in a formula. So now moving on to the next topic, that is how to enter, copy, edit, or hide a formula. And to discuss that, we'll be directly jumping into the live workbook. In my earlier example, if you remember, I had actually shown you how to enter a formula. Now we'll understand how editing a formula works. In the same very example, if you recall, I had actually changed the mark of Ram from 76 to 90. And as soon as I did that, the total score of Ram got updated in the cell which used the cell references to calculate his total. But the cell which used the actual values obtained by him didn't get updated. So in order to update the total score in this cell, we have to edit the formula. There are three different ways to edit a formula. The very first way of editing the formula is by clicking on the cell and moving your cursor to the formula bar and making the required changes. And when I hit the enter button, you can see that the formula got updated and Ram's total score is also changed to 444. Now the second way of editing the formula is by double clicking on the cell. And when you do that, the formula which is beneath the cell comes in front of it and the required changes can be made. And now the third and the most simple way of doing an edit to a formula is by using a shortcut key. So first, we'll move to the cell that requires the edit. We'll hit the F2 button. And as you do that, you can see the formula which was beneath the cell comes in front of it. And we can make the necessary changes and click on the enter button. So that's the 3 ways to edit a formula. Now, I would like to ask you a question. What is the first thing that strikes your mind when you hear copy and paste? I bet it is Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Yes, these keys also work in Microsoft Excel. Let's go ahead and try it out. So when you click on the cell which you want it to be copied, hit the keys Ctrl C and move it to the cell that requires the pasting and hit the keys Ctrl V. Now as you can see, the copy is made, and the important part over here is it's not only the content that is getting copied, it is also the formula that is coming along with it. The another simple way of copying a formula is by right-clicking the mouse button, going to the copy option, then moving to the cell where you want it to be getting copied, go there and use the paste option. Now let's discuss the third and the most widely used way of copying a formula, that is drag and drop. Now if you can see on the screen, when I hover my mouse in the corner of the cell that requires to be copied, you can see a black plus that is getting formed. Now click on the cell, drag it till the cell where you want the formula to be copied and drop it off. There you go. You can see both the content and also the formula is coming along with it. This is the way where you can use drag and drop to copy a formula. So till now, we were copying a formula from a cell that was non-dynamic in nature. Now let's move ahead and copy a formula that is dynamic in nature. As we do that, we can see it's not the value of 444 that is getting copied below, but it is some other values that we don't know where it is coming from. To understand that, we'll go and double click on the cell. So as you can see here, it is the scores obtained by Ria in particular subjects that is getting added up, and her total score is published in that row. So what actually is happening here is, since we copied a cell that was dynamic in nature, it is still using the same formula that we used to calculate the total score of Ram, but it is using the cell references of the scores obtained by Ria and adding them up to calculate the total score obtained by her. In the same way, Mohan's and Emma's scores are also added up and it is published in these cells. So this is the another major advantage of using cell references in formula. As you can see in the example, as we drag down the formula, it automatically calculated the scores of the other students and published it in the respective cells. And this actually makes a life of an Excel user a lot more easier. Okay guys, now we'll understand how to hide a formula in Microsoft Excel. To do that, I'll first enter some random formula into a cell. There you go. And now when we click on the cell, you can actually see the formula in the formula bar. So in order to hide the formula, first we'll have to format the cell. And we'll go to the production tab and we'll check these boxes and hit on the OK button. Now we'll go to the review tab, go to protect sheet and enter password of our own. Click OK, then again confirm the password, and there you go. Now when you click on the cell, you can actually see the formula. So now if you want to hide a formula from any other third-party user, you could actually use this function and go to protect sheet to hide any complicated or secretive formula that you have found out. So in order to get back your formula, you have to go to the unprotect sheet and hit on the formula that you had entered earlier. And when you do that, whatever formula was beneath this cell, you can retrieve it back. Alright guys, that's awesome. Now I believe that you guys have a clear idea of how to enter, copy, edit, and also how to hide a formula. Now moving on to the next major part of the video, wherein we'll be discussing about functions. So what exactly is a function? As you can see on the screen, a function is a predefined formula that performs calculation using specific values in a particular order. For the past few minutes, we were trying to understand the concept of formula. Now we have taken a step ahead and now we are trying to understand what is function. Both function and formula are correlated to each other because a function is a predefined formula which is provided by Microsoft Excel. Now, talking about functions, there are three parts of an Excel function, that is, equal to sign, formula name, and arguments. The equal to sign should be self-explanatory now. The formula name is the name of the formula that performs particular calculations. Arguments is none other than the range of cells you want the formula to be performed on. Now, moving on to the next slide. Here, we'll be discussing about the various ways to view and search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel. Now, looking into the screenshot that is provided, you can see that the user has already clicked on the Formulas tab, which opens up a ribbon of options for functions that are AutoSum functions, recently used, financial and logical, text, date and time, lookup functions, mathematical and trigonometrical functions. Also, there is an option for more functions. Even then, if you're not able to find a particular function that's in your mind, you can go ahead and click on the Insert Functions tab. Doing that, it opens up a pop-up box which asks you to search for a function that's in your mind. So if you do that, for example, if you are searching for an addition function, go ahead and search add or addition and hit the go button. When you do that, Microsoft Excel recommends a list of functions that follows the same calculation as the function that you had searched for. So these are the various ways to view and search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel. So moving on to the final and the most exciting part of the video, wherein we will be discussing about the top functions in Excel that every Excel user need to know to make their lives easier. So under this topic, we'll be taking a bunch of functions together, we'll be understanding their concepts, and then we'll move to the live workbook to understand the concept even better practically. So let's get started. So first four functions are the count function, sum function, minimum function, maximum function. So basically what a count function does is it counts the number of cells in a range which consists of numbers. So basically it is searching for the number of cells which contains numbers. So moving to the next function, that is sum function. So basically, as the name suggests, it adds all the numbers in the range of cells. So moving on to the next function, it is the minimum function. As also the name suggests, it returns the smallest value in a set of values. And coming to the max function, it returns the largest value in a set of values. So now moving on to the live workbook to understand it better. So coming to the first function, that is count. So let us enter the count function, that is equal to count tab, and let's select the range and hit the enter. So 9. So just to cross check whether the count function is properly checking, we'll just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So the count function is working perfectly fine as proclaimed, and then we'll now move on to the sum function. So to calculate the sum of the marks, that will be equal to sum. Hit the tab button, select the range where the sum needs to be calculated, hit enter, and there you go. The sum is 698. So now we want to understand what is the maximum score that was achieved by a student in the subject. So to understand that, we'll go to the max function, max, tab, hit the range where the maximum value has to be found out. Click on enter, and there you go. That is 87. So 87 is the highest score of a student that is being scored in this test. So moving to the minimum function. So the minimum function tells us that which was the minimum or the least score that was scored by a student in the test, and we'll be selecting the range and clicking on the enter, and there you go. So that was 64. So 64 was the least score achieved by a student in that test. So moving on to the next set of functions that are average and f. So basically what average function does is it returns the average of its arguments. So basically what are these arguments? These arguments are none other than the cells or the range of cells. Now coming to the if functions, it is actually logical functions. So if you are a computer science student, you might have used a lot of if loops or if else loops, if else statements. It basically works the same in Excel too. It is a logical function which displays a user defined output according to the condition. So to understand this better, let's move to the live workbook. So average function, let's find the average score of the student in this test. So to do that, first we'll enter equals to average, then we will enter the range, hit the enter button. So here we can see that the average of the class is 77.5. Now to work upon the if function, I would like to say that if a class average is below 75, then the class can do better. So, and if the class average is higher than 75, the class performance is good. So if I have to put an if condition or an if function, I'll put it as if tab. So the condition is first they are telling for the logical test. So here we'll be telling that if average is less than 75, then we'll put a comma, and they're asking if the value is true, like if the average is less than 75, what should be the output that you want the Excel cell to give. So if average is less than 75, I want the output to be can do better, CDB. So that is the output I want, and then I'll hit a comma, and then now they are asking for the value if false. So here they're telling that if the average is above 75, so the condition is getting false. So I just want to put the output to be good performance. Now we'll see what is going to happen, and just click an enter button. So here you go. So that's the output that has been received, good performance. So I would just want to know whether I would certainly, for a change, I'll put the score and alter the average. So I'll put the alter the average mark to the 60, and now you can see that the average has reduced to 74.66, and that is actually less than 75, and the conditions becomes true, and the if output comes as CDB, that is can do better. So that was the output that I had given. That is the first condition. If it is true, then the output is CDB. And before the condition was false, that is the average was above 75, so it was good performance was the output. So now moving on to the next function, that will be concatenate function. So basically concatenate function attaches or concatenates the values of the selected cells. So to understand this better, we will directly jump into the live workbook. So here you can see the first name of the students and the last name of the students. So if I want the first name and the last name to be attached and to get a full name of the students, I will be using the concatenate function. So let's try it out. So concatenate tab. So they are asking for me the first text, that is Raj. Then I'll hit a comma, then Kumar, and then hit an enter. So here you can see that has printed out Raj Kumar, but I feel that the text that has come up is very congested, and I believe there should be a space between Raj and the last name Kumar. So what I'll do, I'll just go and edit the function, and I'll put a small space using 2 double quotes and a space between them, and hit a comma, and then hit enter. So now you can see that there is a small space between them. So now there is a question, does concatenate function only work on text? So the answer is no. It can also work on numbers too. So if you want to concatenate a number to the like if you want to add the score besides the Rajkumar's name, we can do that. So to that to do that, we'll just edit the function. We'll go there, hit a comma, then we'll tell them to add 78 as the text, and then hit enter. So see, there you go. So Rajkumar, both the first name and the last name, and we also have the score that has been scored by him. So I'll just drop down this to copy everything the same way, and there you go. We have the full name of all the students who attended the test, and we have also got their marks on besides them. So now moving on to the next set of functions. So we have countif functions, sumif functions, and drop-down list function. So what exactly does a countif function do? So countif function counts the number of cells according to the criteria provided by the user. And the sumif functions adds the values of the cells within a range according to the criteria. The drop-down list is also a kind of conditional functions. All these three functions are too much into conditional, so I think it will be really easy to understand if we do it in a practical live workbook. So let's jump into the practical live workbook to understand it better. So first, let us work on with the countif function. So countif and then tab. So here we can see they're asking me for a range. So I am selecting the range as the section, and I'll hit the comma, and they're asking me for the criteria, and I'll give that batch A as a criteria. So what exactly am I trying to get an output for here? So here I'm actually trying to find out how many students from section A has attended this exam. So that is what I'm trying to find out. So when I hit the enter key, let's see how many. It's showing 3. Let's just cross check. So here it's 1A, you can see 2, and we can see 3. So that's exactly the number of students that had attended the exam. So I'll just drag down and see whether the other section students, how many of them have attended the exam. So it's showing that B section there are 4 students, and the C section there are 2 students. So let's just cross check for confirmation. B1, 2, 3, and 4, and C comes to be 2. Yeah. So this is exactly what we had the countif functions have produced the output for. Now let's move to sumif function. So let's put sumif, hit the tab. Yeah. So they're asking me for a range. So I'll put the section as a range, then move to comma and hit the criteria. So criteria will be this A, B, A batch, and then I'll hit, they're asking me for the sum range. So sum range will be the score achieved by the students. So yeah. So what exactly am I trying to get output here in this case? So in this case, I am trying to understand that the score that was obtained by the students studying in only section A. So what is happening here, the sumif function is actually selecting the students only from section A and then summing their scores that they have obtained. So when I hit the enter button, I'll get the students scored, the score of the students summed up who are studying in section A. There you go, that is 239. So you can see that section is 79 plus 76 plus 85, that will sum up to 239. And I'll just drag down and see to get the results of other 2. There you go, B section students, 4 of them are doing. And then you can see the results are like, if you sum up the scores, you get 288, and C, you can see there are 2 students, and if you sum up their scores, you get 145. So that's all for countif functions and sumif function. So here we come to the last function that has to be discussed in this video, that is drop-down list. So how does a drop-down list work? So now I'll create a drop-down list function. So first I'll select a cell, then I'll go to data, and then I'll go to data validation, and here I'll go and select list, and they're asking for the source. So I'll click here and tell the source as the names of the students, and I'll hit Okay, and there you go. Now we can get to select any student's name here. So basically how a drop-down function works is conditionally with respect to any other function. So if I had to, like, say, if I use the sumif function here, and I say that the range is the name, and I put comma, and I say the criteria is the name that pops up in the drop-down list, then I tell some range. So some range, I'll say that I'll want to show the output of the student that I want, that I'm going to select in the drop down list. So I'll hit enter, and there you go. So there's Ram's score in this particular test. So if I want to get to know the score of Sachin, I just click here, and there you go. There I get that is Sachin's score, that is 76, and I just don't need to search here in this table. So here, drop down list, if I want to check for LNRs, that is 64. So I don't have to search every time for the score of a particular student if I can get it very easily with the help of drop down list. So basically in the first we understood what exactly is a formula. We understood the concept of formula, and then we understood how Microsoft Excel understands how the user is going to enter a formula. Then we understood how to edit, copy and hide a formula from any other user. Then we moved to the functions part of the video, wherein we discussed about what exactly is a function, how function and formula is correlated, and then we understood the three parts of the function. And then in the final part, and before that we also understood the different ways to view and search functions in Microsoft Excel. We discussed the top 10 Excel functions in detail, and we understood the concept of every function and how it works and what are their roles in the particular function.
Now let's try to understand what variables in analytics are, or what variable as in the whole general data are. So your data is divided into two types, that is categorical variable and numerical variable. Now what are categorical variables? Anything which has categories are categorical variable, that is your cities that could have different categories with the name of the city, that could be Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore. So these three could be categories within the variable cities, and that would be considered as a categorical variable. Now this categorical variable could be stored in the form of string, that is a data type in Excel. Now similar to this, we have numerical variable, that is also called as quantitative variable, which are different type of data types, that is int, if it's a whole numerical number, that could be your age, that is say 27, 28 or 68, something like that. Then it is an integer variable. Then if it's a decimal value, then it could be something like what is the distance. So distance 3.3 kilometers. So that 3.3 where you are getting values into decimal form, that could be your float value, which is also a data type, and a numerical data or numerical variable. Now based on this, your numerical variables are also called as quantitative variable, and the other categorical variable is also sometimes called as qualitative variable, because it tells us about the quality of the data. Now we have one more data type apart from string or objects or int, float, that is boolean. So whenever we have data in the form of true or false or ones and zeros, it is called as boolean. There is one special data type which is called as date. Now why do we need date as a different data type? Because it is altogether a different format in which we have certain rules, that is the dates are from 1 to 31st for Jan, then for Feb it could be 28, and then again for March, April it is all different. So we have certain, so this numbers could come into int, but if we want to have we want to know what day is there on that particular date or something like that, or you want to convert it, you want to calculate what is the date after 30 days from now, something like this. So for that we needed a special data type which is called as date, and it is also there in Excel. So let's try and check making a date variable using 3 different columns that could be our day, month and year, and try to check how different file formats are assigned to the cell. Now for assigning date and time format to the cell, that is assigning this data type to that particular cell, we need to right click and check the file for cell formats, and then within that we need to make changes. Now this is one function which is used to convert into date and time by concatenating day, date and month, year, and the function for that is called as date. Now we also have one more function in Excel which is called as date value. So in the back end, Excel keeps on track of the dates by a series of date, as in the first date in the series is 1st January 1990. So this is considered as 1. Now if we move ahead, and whatever the return variable, whatever the function date value returns is the count of that series for that particular day. That means if we were to calculate 1st January 2016, so whatever would be the value of that date value, that would be the count since 1st Jan 1990, that how many number of days, that would be the count of that. So let's try and see that in Excel. So here I have made 3 columns: date, that is my day, then month and year. Now let's try and create one more column which is called as say date, and here we have a function. So for function, let's write equal to, then pass date function, shift enter. Then what is it suggesting? It's suggesting us to select year, month and day. So let's select year, give a comma, select month, give a comma, select day, and then complete the bracket, hit shift enter. So this is the day which we had. So by default it automatically converts this particular cell into that particular file format or that particular data type, which is date and time. Now if you want to calculate this for all of the dates, just select this and drag it. So you have all of these dates in that particular date and time format. Now if you want this in some other format, like say mmddyy, ddmmyy, something of this order, so you just need to select this, hit right click, go to format cells and select whichever format you want. So say for example, if you want this particular format, that is ddmmyy, you just hit this and hit OK. So you'll get this in this particular format. So this is how your date and time works in Excel. As well as if you want to check how that date value works, let's try and do it on this particular data set. So here we have all the date of births. Let's try and see how that day, how that number of series or number of days since 1st Jan 1990 is being calculated. So just write equal to, pass date value function, select the particular cell, close the bracket. Now what would happen if I'll hit shift enter? Yes, it will take all the values and it would made as a new column in this particular table. Yes, so these are the values. So 37,170 is the number of days that has been occurred since 1st Jan 1990 to 6th of 10 2001. This is how our function date time works in Excel. Now let's check how sorting in Excel works. This is one of the most important feature of Excel, wherein using this you'll be able to do all different types of sorting of your data. So say for example, if you want to sort it in ascending order or in descending order, or say for example, if you have provided different colors to different cells and if you want to sort it on the basis of those colors, So as to say, green colored background cell should come first, then your red color background cell should come, something of that sort. Or on the basis of font as well. So whatever could be the font color, and if you want to sort it on the basis of color of that particular font, and you want to give priority to, say, red color should come first, and whatever is in the black should come in the last for the font color. So you have options for all of these things in Excel. So for that, you'll need to select all the values which you want to sort, and then hit on sort function and define your rules for sorting. Okay, you can also have multiple additions to your sorts in different color, and as well as give priority on what basis you want to sort in Excel. So let's see how this sort works. So this is the data set which we already have, and we have converted this data set into table by clicking on any cell and then hitting Control T as a shortcut, or by going into insert ribbon and then selecting tables. So this is our table of marks in which we are having different kind of marks. Now say for example, if I want to sort this data ascending order on the basis of marks in maths. So for that, what I'll do is I'll just select this sort function which is there in the data ribbon. I'll select this sort, and from here I'll have to select on what basis do I need to sort it. So say for example, here we want to select it on the basis of mathematics marks. So I'll just select it over from here, and since I want to sort it on the basis of values, so I'll not make any changes. And this is for the order. So if you want to go from smallest to largest, select this. If you want to go from largest to smallest, you can select this as well. After this selection, hit OK. So based on whatever the criteria which you have selected, it would sort the data set. Okay, so now you can see that these IDs which were earlier in ascending order, this have altered altogether, and this marks are being sorted in ascending order. That is, the lowest value is coming at the start, and the highest value, that is 98 marks in maths, is coming at the end. So this is how we have just sorted a simple column in ascending order. Now say for example, you also have a direct button to do this. So you also have this buttons over here to sort this in ascending or descending order. So for like I want to sort it on the basis of stream and in alphabetical order. So you just need to select a column or a cell from that and just hit the button. So since we hit this A to Z, that is sorting in the basis of A to Z or lowest to highest. So all the biology, that is B comes first in our alphabets. So that B is coming at the top, then C, then M. If you want to it in the opposite or the descending order, you just need to hit the button next to it and it would sort it again. If you want to do this with maths, you can also do this as well. So if you want maths marks in ascending order, hit that, you can do that as well. So this was in short your how sort function works. Now say for example, if you have a situation wherein you want to have priority, you want to give priority to your sort. So now pay attention to this situation. We have sorted our data set on the basis of maths marks. Now in that we have a particular value which is repeating. So say for example, if this 18 is coming twice, so which row should be given priority? Like this male should be given priority or this female row should be given priority if this both of them are having same marks? Then if this is the case, I want to give priority to my column physics, to the marks of physics. So for that, what I'll do is I'll define the rule like that. So first it should check priority in marks in maths, then in physics. So how do we define such kind of sorting rules? So for that, again, you'll have to go to sort. First, we already had selected this, that I want maths marks to be given priority on the basis of values, smallest to largest. Then you'll need to add again a level to this and then select the column which is your second priority. So say for example, if your sex is your priority, that is male female, you could do that as well. Then it would select it according to the alphabetical order. But here we have physics marks as the priority based on values itself, and smallest to largest. You can change this as well over here and then hit OK. So what this would do is, now it would first check marks on the basis of maths, sort it down, and if there is a situation wherein we have two different marks as same, there it would sort on the basis of physics. So let's try to just change this value to 18, or but not this 18. Let's try to change a particular value of this 29 to 18. This is 56 and this is 86, so we might get a different value over here. So let's give a value 18 and then try to sort it on the basis of maths first, then physics. So when we sort it, you can see now the output is 18, 18, 21, 23. It is being sorted on the basis of maths first and then on the basis of physics. That is, again, we kept that the situation when there is a contradictory situation that we have same maths marks, then give priority to physics marks. That is why physics 56, 86 is coming in ascending order. Now, if you want to add third condition, you can add it in the same very similar manner. So this is how you sort the data on the basis of values. It can be ascending, descending, multiple level as well. Okay, so now let's try and see how sorting is done on the basis of colors, which is a different type of sort. So now instead of giving priority to a number, value of a number, that is in larger to smaller or smaller to larger, let's try to give priority to color of the background cell. Okay, so for that, let's first give colors to the cells. So how do we do that? Let's try to change the table style. So for that, let's like have a ordinary cell type. So this is where we converted it to a normal style, and then let's select values of a particular cell like this 86. Select 2, 3 values randomly, whatever you want, and give a background color to this. Say for example, let's give them orange color. Then again select few values randomly, and this time let's give them say red color, and the remaining values which we have, let's give them green color as the background. Or else first select all those cells which you want to, or else let's keep one cell as white only so that we can compare that as well. Now let's give this as green color. So now we have cells which are of 3 different colors, that is orange, green, red, and one cell is white. Now let's try to sort this particular marks of physics and the table 1 on the basis of colors. So how will we do that? So for that, we'll have to go to the sorting function which is there in our data. You can as well click right and go to the sort function. From here you have options present for this over here as well. Directly you can select the column and apply these different types of sort from here. That is the sorting from smallest to largest, largest to smallest based on color. So you have this option, put selected color cell on top. So this would sort all the red colors and get them on top. So let's try this from here. So we have selected red color and let's try to hit this. Yes. So this is how all the red color columns are coming on top. So how the application of this sorting could be there, like we discussed a case wherein we have this marks of students, and in this students, if someone is performing very poorly in the exams of physics, we could just make his column as red and give the background color to the cell as red. And then if we want to see out of say 1000 entries or 1 lakh entries, how many of them are performing bad in exams, physics. So we'll just get them data at the top. So by this we'll just sort them on the basis of red color. Now you have many options over here in sort which you can see. So put selected color on top, we tried this. Put selected font color on top, that could also be done. Let's try to customize this. Now we have seen this in one video, like how to convert or customize sorting on the basis of values, right? So now let's try and add one more cell, one more rule to this, and let's sort it on the basis of physics marks. Now instead of values over here, let's try to select cell color. Now after this cell color, let's give priority to say green, so that on the top it would be red color first, then it would sort on the basis of green color, and then let's add one more rule for physics marks on the basis of cell color. If you want to do this rules on the basis of font color, you just need to select font color or the other parameter, that is cell icon, and then let's give priority to yellow, and on top, on bottom, whatever you want, let's hit OK. So yeah, there is our data sorted on the basis of colors, that is all the red color cells, rows are coming at the top, then all green, then we are having orange, and preceding with no color. So this is how we sort on the basis of colors in Excel. Let's see how filtering works in Excel. We have already studied how sorting function was done in Excel. So now why do we need filtering? So there is a huge difference between filtering and sorting, and that is, in sorting we don't omit or we don't hide any particular data values. They are just rearranged on whatever fashion or on whatever rules you have mentioned. That could be on the basis of, say, color, values in ascending or descending order, or anything of that sort. In filtering, we actually hide the data points which we don't want to see. So you can take a situation in which you have a data set from a company, and in that there are every details of all the employees of that company, and you want to know, say for example, from the number of years of experience column, you want to check how many people are there, how many employees are there who are having experience greater than, say, 10 years. So for that you could use filtering. So when you'll apply filter to this particular column, only you'll be able to see only the values which would be having number of years of experience greater than 10. So other values which would not satisfy this condition would not be shown to you, they would be hidden. So this is how filtering works. In Excel, we have liberty to use filtering on the basis of cell color, font color, and values. So in values, we have two different types. First type would be in the basis of text. That could be alphabetically comparison, or say for example, if you want to check the name of the employees whose second alphabet in the name is A, you can do that as well. That is filtering by value on the basis of text. You can do comparisons on the basis of numerical value as well. That the example which we have seen for the number of years of experience greater than 10, that is an example of numerical value filtering. So if you want to compare some value, that is if you want to check only the data of the employees who are having 3 as their number of years of experience, that could also be done. That again would come under by value filtering. So to do filtering in Excel, we have multiple options. You can either go by hitting the filter button which is there in your ribbon top menu, or else you can also select any particular column, hit right enter on your mouse, and then select the filter option which is right below your sort button. Or else you also, if your data is there in a tabular format, which we have already seen, you get an advantage that wherever your name or the heading are present, you get a drop down menu over there which is there, and you can hit that and filter on the basis of the parameters which you want. You can select it from there. If you don't have that particular drop down button, you can get that drop down button by simply pressing Ctrl Shift L. That would be the shortcut for that button. So now let's see how that goes in Excel. So here we have a data set in which we have the data of 12th grade marks of few students, and we have around 100 entries in this. So this data set is having all the different columns. First is ID, first name, surname, sex, date of birth, maths marks, physics marks, chemistry marks, location, and stream. So stream would be the background of which the student is appearing from for 12th. That could be maths, commerce, and biology. Location would be the student from where he is giving the exam. Bangalore, Gurgaon, Delhi, Goa, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai is also there. So we'll try to sort on the basis of this particular data set. So the buttons which I was mentioning earlier, that is the filtering buttons, you can have this option for filtering in by right clicking over here. So just if you have to select any cell and hit filter so as to get this options. So you can filter it by cell value, color, font color, or cell icon. If you don't want to do that, you have this drop down buttons over here which you could directly use. Like say for example, I want to sort and see data of only males. So I'll just click here, deselect this, select male out of here, hit OK. Now this would be the data of only males. So I could see the data of students who are having sex as male. So this is how we are filtering. The difference between filtering and sorting is that we remove some part of data, and in sorting we are just rearranging it. So here we are not getting any data from female sex. So what now if you want to undo it, just hit this filter button again, hit select all, hit enter, you'll get your data as it is. Now say for example, one more example for this could be, say I want to check only the marks of students or the data of students who are there, who have appeared for this exam only from Goa. So I'll just select Goa from here, hit OK, and here it is. So this we are getting own entries only on the basis of Goa. Now say for example, if you want to clear this out, you can just hit here, or else you also have a clear button here as well. Now this is the filter option which again you have. So if you want those drop down, if you don't want to see those drop down buttons, you can just click over here, click over here, you'll get it. You can you again have a shortcut for this as Ctrl Shift L, L for London, and if you will hit Ctrl Shift L, you will get that as well. You can hide that as well. So this is how filtering works on the basis of values. Now say for example, this was filtering on the basis of categorical value, right? Now say for example, if you want to filter it on the basis of say some particular value, so for that let's try and filter maths mark on the basis of cell value. So what happened, I just selected a cell value and that particular cell value was 43. So it showed me all the values which was having 43 as their data point in maths marks and sorted that only rows to me. So this is how you can sort again on the basis of only particular value entry. You can select multiple values if you want from this option as well. And if you don't want that, you can just clear filter. So you'll get your data back again. There are multiple functions in it. You can again, so for example, if your data is again in different colors, so we'll just try to change the design of this. We'll just try to get a normal pattern that is no color and just randomly try to give few data values as some color of their cell as we have seen in sort as orange. Then just randomly pick few and assign them color as say green. And now say for example, if I want to sort this on the basis of color, filter it out on the basis of color, and I want to see data which is having only the cell color as green. So just select that, hit right enter, select filter, go to the selection of your choice. If you want to remove that, clear filter. That's it, done. You get all of your data back again. Okay, so in this manner you can sort it on the basis of colors. And say for example, if you want to sort it on the basis of say font color, if you have different types of font colors, so just select the cell, go to filter and choose the color of your font, this option. So you can sort it on the basis of font color as well. Now say for example, if you want to filter out this marks in physics on the basis of say greater than 50, if you want to sort marks of physics which are who have scored greater than 50, so you'll go to this filter options and select greater than, and in this greater than option you have to select 50. So when you will select this 50, you'll get only the marks, only the rows which are having marks greater than 50 in physics. So these are only the marks, students data which is who have scored marks greater than 50, which we can see there are many people. Now you can apply multiple filters as well. Now inside that, if you want to sort it down on the basis of say orange color, so this is 2 times filtering. So here what we have done is we have selected marks, we have selected students data who has scored marks greater than 50 in physics and students who are having cell color in maths marks as orange. So this is how you can apply 2 filters as well. If you want to remove those filters, just clear this one filter, clear the other filter as well. So this is you have multiple filtering options available. So greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, between some values, top 10 values. Say for example, if you want equal, so if you want to check if in physics there is some data which is equal to say who have scored 43 marks, if you want to check that, so that could also be done. And we can see that there is no one who had scored 41. So say let's try to change that number to say 98. Okay, yes, there are 3 students who have scored 98 marks in physics, so we have their data on our screen. So this is how you do sorting. There are we covered all different types of sorting. So this is how we do filtering in Excel. So we did filtering on the basis of different cell colors, different font colors also I have told you. Then on the basis of value, text as well, we checked data of only Goa students. And then we also checked how to do filtering on the basis of numerical values. You have one more important type of filtering in Excel. So say for example, there's a situation in which you want to filter out all the employees whose name was say Aditya, and you particularly want to find out the employee whose name Aditya was there with second alphabet of his name was also A. That is, name of his spelling could be Aaditya instead of Aditya. So we can apply such kind of complex filtering in Excel as well. So let's try and check for all the strings data in our column location with the name of the city which is having second alphabet as A. That is, Bangalore is there, Gurgaon no, Delhi no, Goa is also not there, Mumbai is also not there, Chennai is also not, Kolkata is also not. So according to our condition, we should get only Bangalore's data. So how will we apply this kind of advanced filtering? So before that, you'll have to select the cell, select the filtering option. For that, you have to go to this text filters. As we are comparing with the text column, by default, you are getting a text filter and not value filter. If you were to go with for numerical column, you'll get it number filter and all the different operators such as greater than, less than, equal to. You don't have greater than and less than in text filtering. So in text filtering, we went in text filter, and then let's try and check and make a custom filter in which we are checking all the values which are equal to the condition which we are giving. Okay, so here you can see a small statement or a note is written. What does that note say? Use question mark to represent any single character. Use asterisk to represent any series of characters. So here it was single character, here it is series of characters. Now what do we have to search? We have to search in particular location column that the first character could be anything in the name of the city and the second alphabet in the name of the city should be A. So for that, since we have first, that is our single character, it could be anything. So for that we'll use question mark over here. Then we'll use A because second character we want it as A, and next we'll use as asterisk because there are number of series. We can have anything at the after A. So we'll apply filter through this. So you can see we have all the data of Bangalore, which is satisfying our condition. Now, say for example, the situation which I asked you, that was Aditya, like the name which are starting with double A. So how would you set the condition for that? So you'll just have to go to select your column, go to text filter, make a custom filter, and here you'll have to write colon A star. So what does that mean? That second alphabet in that particular column should be A. Now let's try if it is working for O. So question mark O, this would mean that our first character could be anything, that is question mark. O, second character should be O, and then after that it could be anything. So then again star for it. Okay, so you can see we are getting Goa and Kolkata because in Goa second character is O, in Kolkata as well second character is O. So this is how this complex filter in text or characters work in Excel.
We are going to be learning about conditional formatting. The two platforms which we have chosen to teach you conditional formatting are Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. Let's move on and understand what the agenda is for this video. So before directly moving on with conditional formatting, we'll be having a brief description on what is formatting so that you're having a clear idea on what are the differences between formatting and conditional formatting. After having a clear clarity on these two concepts, we'll be directly moving on to the platforms and try to implement conditional formatting in those two platforms, which are Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. Introduction to conditional formatting. Formatting. What is formatting? Formatting is actually nothing but playing around with some of the tools which we are having, including font style, font size, font color, or fill color. This enables us to make sure some of the contents are standing out from rest of the data. This is mainly done to make sure that the viewers viewing this presentation does not miss up on any of the contents which we would like to share. So only such important key points or data are being highlighted using formatting. Conditional formatting. Before knowing how to implement conditional formatting, can you guys tell me what is conditional formatting? Now we know what formatting is, and we have also talked about change the font style, font color, fill color, and all those things. So is there anything else which we might have missed out which would make conditional formatting? Actually, conditional formatting is formatting itself. The only difference is that by following conditional formatting, it would be more easy and convenient for us to apply formatting in any datasets or worksheet. Here, in conditional formatting, we'll be giving certain conditions, and only the cells in which the data satisfies this condition would be formatted, and rest of the cells would remain the same. Therefore, by following conditional formatting, we need not go to each of the cells and apply formatting for them separately. We could simply give the conditions, and the cells which satisfy the conditions would directly be formatted according to our commands. I can give you a simple example for you to understand how conditional formatting is much efficient than formatting. Consider that you are given a mark sheet of certain students and you need to filter out the students who got 80+. So if you're following formatting, you need to go through each of the cells and find out who all scored 80+ and apply formatting for each of them separately. But if you're using conditional formatting, you could give conditions and all the cells which satisfy these conditions will be formatted automatically according to our commands. Now that we know what is formatting and conditional formatting, let us try to understand how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. So here, File, Home, Insert, Page Layout, all those things are the various ribbon which is available on Microsoft Excel. So conditional formatting is made available in the Home ribbon, and in the Home ribbon we'll be having the option Conditional Formatting. The various options available to us in conditional formatting are highlight cell rules, top bottom rules, data bars, color scales, and icon sets. The other sets of options include new rule, clear rules, and manage rules. Highlight cell rules. Highlight cell rule actually helps you to highlight the cell which satisfies the condition. Top bottom rule. The topmost or the bottommost values can be formatted here which satisfies the conditions. Data bars. Data bars are actually pictorial representation or similar to bar graph which is present within the cell. The length of the bar depends upon the magnitude of the value which is present within the cell. Color scales. In this formatting, the cells will be given a particular color based on the value or based on the range in which they fall under. Icon sets are also similar to color scales. Instead of colors, here icons are given to the cells depending upon the range in which they fall under. The other options which include are new rule, where you will be able to create a new rule based upon your requirement. Clear rule helps you to delete the existing rules which you have already made. Manage rule helps you to modify or make necessary changes to the rules you have already made. Data bars, color scales, and icon sets. I hope you have understood what these three are from the previous slide. Anyways, we'll be diving deeper into these three while we are implementing conditional formatting in the platform Microsoft Excel. Now let's take a look at what is cells that contain. Here, you will be able to format the cells that contain a particular value, text, or belonging to a particular range. You'll also be able to format the cells which are empty or occupied as well. In more rule types, you'll be able to format the cells which are having same values or unique values. You can also format the cells based on top 10 values, bottom 10 values, top 10 percentages, bottom 10 percentages, or values which are having above average or below average. Formula based. Apart from all the other methods in conditional formatting, Excel also provides us to give formula, and only the cells which satisfy the condition in the formula will be formatted. All the other cells will be remaining the same. Now that we have an idea on what is conditional formatting, let's move on to the platform and try implementing these methods of conditional formatting on Microsoft Excel. So guys, now we are in the Excel platform, and here we'll be trying to implement formatting and conditional formatting to the datasets which we are having. So let's start with formatting. So in the dataset which we are having to implement formatting, we can see in the column A we are having name, and these are these many names of these many people, and in column B we are having their age. So these are the ages of these many people, and in column C it is a sex, and these are the sex of these many people. So we are having the name, age, and sex. So by looking into the data, we'll be able to understand that name, age, sex are the headings of the three columns, right? So those need to be highlighted. So I'm trying to give bold font to each of the heading, that is name, age, and sex. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to select these three cells, that is name, age, and sex, and try to give it bold. So in home ribbon, so the file, home, insert, page layout, formulas are all the various ribbons which are available in the platform Microsoft Excel. So in order to give bold, we can go to the home ribbon, and here we'll be having the option bold. You can also press Ctrl+B in order to get the font bold. Now we got the headings all in bold, right? So we have got the headings right. Now formatting is actually done for the heading name, age, and sex. Now what if I need to give a particular formatting for these data based on their sex? So John, Robin, and Sam, these three people, see, John, Robin, and Sam, these three people are male, and Gina and Amy are female. So I want to give a particular formatting for male and female separately, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the male people out of these data, that is John, Robin, and Sam, and then trying to implement fill color. This is the fill option, this is the text color option. Okay, in fill color I'm going to give this color maybe. So I've given a particular formatting to the information which is being represented in the table. So this is John, Robin, and Sam. So we'll be able to recognize easily who are male, who are female. So what if I need to give one more color to female also? So what I'm selecting their data and then implementing with another color, right? So I'm giving dark green for female, light green for male. So I'll be able to depict, or I will be able to interpret very easily who are the male ones, who are the females, right? Okay, that is done. I would also like to teach you one more thing, how you will be able to copy formatting from one cell to another. That can also be done in simple steps, right? So what you need to do is you do formatting to one cell. So John, I have selected the 3 cells from John and I am implementing this color for them. So what if I need to copy the formatting done to these 3 cells to Robin and Sam? That can be easily done. So in this case, the only formatting done is fill color. So what if a lot of formatting is being done? To copy each of those formatting is going to be very difficult, right? So we'll be able to use this option which I'm going to teach you, so that you'll be able to easily copy the formatting which is done to some particular cells of the selection and then directly implement those formatting completely to the cells which we require. So I have already implemented a kind of formatting to these 3 cells. So I need to copy these formatting to Robin and Sam, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3 cells, and in the home ribbon I'm having an option called Format Painter. So Format Painter enables you to copy all the format which is being implemented to these 3 cells which we have selected. So now we know that these 3 cells have been highlighted, so all the formatting which has been implemented to these 3 cells will be copied. And in order to paste this, we can simply select these 3 cells in which we need to paste this. So after releasing your mouse, you will be able to see that the same formatting which is being implemented with John is directly being copied from John and pasted at Robin. Okay, so in order to paste this to Sam, it is all these 3 cells are initially copied. So you need to go to the home ribbon and Format Painter, and the format will be copied, and then it can be pasted simply by clicking onto the cells which we require, to the cells which we need the formatting to be pasted, right? So I hope you have understood how we'll be able to do formatting in Microsoft Excel. So what we have implemented is, so we have given bold to these 3 names, that is name, age and sex, which is the heading, and we have given fill color depending upon the sex, right? So, and we have also learned how to copy and paste formatting from some particular cells to another particular cells which we require. Right. Apart from that, there are a lot of other tools as well. So in here, you'll be able to change the text style. Here we'll be able to change the font size. Here, underline, italics, fill color, text color. All these are basic options which is being available in Microsoft Excel. So you can easily go through those and understand. Now we are done with formatting, and let's see how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. Right. The first thing which I would like to introduce you to in conditional formatting is data bars. So here we have already done the basic formatting, and now we need to do is conditional formatting to start off with data bars. So data bars can be implemented to these cells depending upon the value. Okay, so these are the products: Apple, Samsung, Realme, Redmi, and these are the quantity of these products. Okay, so to implement data bars, the first thing which we need to do is select the cells in which we should be implementing data bars. All right, so the selection is already made, and now to implement data bars, we can directly go to the home ribbon, which is we are already in the home ribbon, and then we can directly move on to conditional formatting and then select data bars. So in data bars, we are having gradient fill and solid fill. So the difference is that in gradient fill, the color diminishes towards the end, and in solid fill the color remains the same. So let me take one of the gradient fill, that is this. So this is the data bar. Data bars is actually a pictorial representation, bar graph within the cell itself, depending upon the value or the magnitude of the value which is being present within the cell. So the length of the bar depends upon the value within each cell, and so by comparing the values, they'll be drawing the bar graphs, and the length will be decided upon by the magnitude of the values which is present in each of the cells. So what if you don't want to see these numbers? Only what you need is the bar graphs and not the values. So that can also be implemented here. Okay, we'll be able to eliminate all these numbers, and we'll be able to see only the bar graphs. For that to happen, we can go to home ribbon, conditional formatting, data bars, and here we have an option called more rules. Select that, and here you will be getting a dialog box here, and what you need to do in order to remove these values are show bar only. You're having a option here, just give tick here and you can give OK. So by now, you'll be having an idea on which is the lowest value, which is the highest value. A comparison is being made possible here using data bars, where you need not exactly know the values which are being present. So if you want to have the bar graph along with the values, that is also possible. And if you don't want to have the values, just the bar graph, that is also made possible using data bars. Now we'll be trying how to implement color scales and icon sets. Okay, so in the same data set, I'll be teaching you how to implement color scales and icon sets. So in the first column here, we're having month. These are the months from January to December. In the next column, you're having quantity from January to December. So these may be the quantity of items which have been sold in the month, isn't it, January to December. So, and these may be the revenue which they have generated in these many months by selling these many items or these many quantities. Okay, so I'll be trying to explain how we'll be able to implement color scale. So initially, the first thing which we need to be doing to implement color scale is that we should be selecting the cells in which we need to be implementing those. All right, so to apply color scales, I have selected these many cells. Now after selecting the cells, we can move to home ribbon, and then in that conditional formatting, and then we have the option for color scale. So in color scale, we have 3 color scales, 2 color scales. Depending upon us, we can select one. So in this, 3 color scales are green, red and yellow, and here also green, red and yellow. The order is different. That is the only difference here. So here we'll be having the highest colors will be given to green, and the lowest colors will be having red. Here the vice versa, the highest color will be having red and the lowest color will be having green. So I am choosing this. Okay, so now we have implemented color scales. So what if you want to edit or modify the color scales which we have given? So you want to change the color or you want to change anything else. Okay, so that can be done as well. So to do that, we should be selecting these and go to conditional formatting, and here we have an option called manage rules. Select that. So all the rules which we have applied will be present in this box. Okay, so the only rule which we have applied is graded color scale. So we can select this and give the option edit rule. And then we have a dialog box here where we'll be able to control the number of colors. So it is a 3 color scale. If you want to make it 2, you can make it 2. So the color scale will be varying from red to green. If you want to change the color from say a light blue to dark blue, that is also made possible. So the 2 colors which is available is light blue and dark blue, and we can change the number of colors by here. And if you want to give the here, what is being made is minimum value will be assigned light blue, highest value will be assigned dark blue. So if you want to reverse that, that can also be possible. So lowest value, so here we have having the lowest value is given light blue color, in the highest value we are having dark blue color. So if you want to reverse it, you can just select here and go give a dark blue color to the minimum value, and the highest value we can change it to light blue. So we'll be able to control the number of colors in which we need to have the color scales, and we can also change the order in which will be assigned to each of the cells. So we click OK, and if you want to apply and see how it will be looking, so it will be looking like this, and I said OK. So these are the formatting which has been done to these many cells, and the 2 colors, if you have taken the 2 color option. So if you want to implement 3 color, that is up to you. And now coming to icon sets. Okay, now in icon sets, initially what we need to do is nothing but select the cells in which we need to be implementing icon sets. So after selecting this, we need to go to home ribbon, conditional formatting, and then here we have icon sets. So we have directional icon sets, shapes, indicators, ratings, and all those things. Okay, so here also we'll be implementing the icon sets based on these many things. So I'm trying to give this here. So the maximum values will be in green, up arrow, the minimum values will be in red, down arrow, and the median values will be in a hyphen mode with yellow color, right? So that is what we learned in icon sets. So what if you need to modify this as well? So like we modify the color scales, what if you need to modify icon sets as well? That is also made possible. So select the cells in which the rules which you have already applied, you need to edit that or change that. You can select those particular cells and then move to conditional formatting, manage rules. So these are the so here you will be able to see what rules are you applied. So by clicking this and edit rule, in here we know that icon sets, in icon sets we can change it here if you want to change. So I can show icons only. So if you don't want to show the values here, you will be able to do that, show icons only. So okay, apply, So values will be erased, only the icons will be there. Okay, so you don't need that, so I am gonna change that again. So since I need to have the number there, so I'm gonna untick this button, and then the type in which it is being segregated is based on the percentage. So the percentage, so the values which is above the percentage of 67 will be given in green arrow, upward arrow, and the values which is in between the range 33 to 67% will be given in the hyphen size in yellow color, and the values which is less than 33% will be given in red, down arrow. And I'm giving OK here and OK again. See, and now we have got the icon sets, and now we have also learned how we'll be able to implement color schemes and icon sets, and how we'll be able to make necessary changes to the already made formatting. Right, now we'll be trying to implement cells that contain. So with these data, we are trying to implement cells that contain. In cells that contain, we'll be able to conditionally format the cells which are empty, which are not empty. That is one option which cells that contain provides. Okay, and we'd also be able to format the cells which has values ranging from one particular value to another particular value. So we'll be able to give a range or give a particular definition to the range, and then all the cells which define to that range will be formatted. We'll also be able to highlight or format the cells which contains a particular text. So if the cells which we have selected contains a particular text, we can give that text as an input, and if any cells contains that particular text, it will be able to highlight that cells as well. So let's see how we will be able to implement those things here. Right, so right now I'm trying to implement conditional formatting cells that contain to blank cells. So here I want to highlight all the blank cells which are being made. So in quantity, we'll be able to see that there are some cells which is blank. So this cell is blank and this cell is blank as well. So I need to highlight these particular cells. Okay, for that, what I'll be doing is I'll be selecting the cell ranges, and I'll be moving to home ribbon, conditional formatting, and then here I'll be choosing new rule. So when you choose new rule, you'll be having a new box coming up. So in this box, you should select format only cells that contain. So after selecting that, you will be able to do all those things which I have told you right now. So in this first column, you can drop down and choose blanks. So after this, we'll be able to highlight or format a particular cells which are completely blank. So to format that, we can select the format option, and if you need to have a number, font, border, or fill, whichever format you want to give to those particular cells, you can do that. So here I'm going to choose fill. So I'm going to give a color red to highlight that in these particular cells there are no value being input. Okay, so I'm giving OK, and then OK as here as well. So see, now we are able to highlight the cells in red color where there is no values at all in those particular cells. So we are able to highlight that. Now what if you want to do a highlighting or formatting to particular cells which range from one value to another value? We can try implementing that. So that also, what we should do is select this range, go to home ribbon, conditional formatting, new rule, and format only cells that contain. Therefore, to give formatting to the cells which fall under a range of value, so for that we can be choosing format only cells that contain, and you can place cell value itself here, and in between you can give the starting value and the ending value. So here the data range from 1 to 11, I guess. So I'm choosing values between 7 and 9. So all the values between 7, so let me give 10. Okay, so all the values between 7 and 10 will be highlighted since we are using between option here, and we can choose the format in which we need to highlight or format that. So format, you want to give border, so outline, I've choose outline, and then I am choosing one color as well. So I choose an outline and color as well for those cells in which the cell fall under the range of 7 to 10. So I clicked OK. See, we have got the cells which are in the range from 7 to 9. We have got that fill color in blue, and we have also got the outlining for each of the cells which satisfy the given condition. So we understood how we'll be able to format the cells which are blank, how we'll be able to format the cells which fall under a particular range of values. Now let's see what can be done to the text we are having here. So we are also being able to format the cells that contain a particular text, right? So I'll be teaching you how we'll be able to implement that as well. Let me undo this. And then, so for text, I am choosing this column, customer column, and I'm choosing these many cells. All the cells in these column or the selected area are to be formatted using conditional formatting with cells that contain. So I've already chosen this home ribbon, conditional formatting, new rule, cells that contain. So since I need to look for particular text, let me select specific text and containing. So I'll be able to select that specific text containing, let me say, 2 letters array. So if there is any name which contains array, that will be highlighted, and in which format it should be highlighted can be selected using this. So font, let me make it bold. Fill color should be, say, blue. Okay. See, Rakesh array is there, Ram array is there, Rahul array is there. So in these 3 names we have got the text, specific text array. So these are the ways in which we'll be able to use cells that contain conditional formatting. So what we have looked at here with cells that contain are, we'll be able to highlight cells which are blank and not blank, cells which belong to a particular range. At the same time, we'll also be able to look into the values which is greater than, less than, minimum, and all those things can also be implemented there. And after that, we went and looked upon cells that contain specific text. So if some specific text are being incorporated in any of the values of our selection, that cells can also be highlighted. More rule type is the next phase which we are going to be talking about in conditional formatting. So the features available in more rule type are, we'll be able to format the cells which are similar. So if there is any similar values in other cells, we can be grouping that and finding or formatting those cells. Or if you want to format cells which does not have any similarity, or if you want to format the cells which are having unique data, that can be made possible. Or if you want to format the top 10 values, bottom 10 values, top 10 percentages, bottom 10 percentages, or above average or below average, that can all be made possible using the option more rule type. So we'll be starting off with top 10 values which you want to be sharing. So let's say instead of 10, we can say take 3 or 4. The first thing which you should be doing is selecting the data in which you need to be applying this formatting. So the quantity is the column which I taken for that, and then in these selected cells I need to be implementing this conditional formatting. So I have made the selection and I am going to home ribbon in conditional formatting. So top and bottom rules, in that option itself we are having the option to get the top 10 items, top 10 percentages, bottom 10 items, bottom 10 percentages, above average and below average. So if you're having any requirement of these things, we can directly choose this option. Or if you're having any requirement apart from these top 10, bottom 10, all those things, and if you want to customly design a rule, you can go to more rules over here. So I am choosing to choose top 3 values. So I have chosen format only top or bottom ranked values. So here we can select top or bottom. So since I am having top 3 values, so I'll be choosing top, and instead of 10 I'll be writing 3. So if I want top 3% of the values, so I can click on the button here, so that will be showing top 3% values. Okay, so that can also be made possible here. So since I don't need that, I'll be unticking that, and I'll be choosing the format in which I need to be doing the format. So I gave bold format, I'm giving a fill color of light blue, and then I implemented. So the top 3 values will be highlighted after giving this. So press OK. See, 9, 11, 11 are the top 3 values in the selection which I have made, which is this. So see, without even going through any of the values itself, we will be able to directly implement formatting to these cells in the selections which we have made. And here the top 3 cells are 9, 11 and 11, right? So now we have made the top 3 values. So if you want to make it bottom 3 values, do the same selection, home, conditional formatting, more rules, top, format only top or bottom ranked values. Instead of top, give bottom. And what are the top or what are the bottom 3 values which you need, or bottom 5 values which you need, type that and you'll be getting that. So since I don't require that, I'm not doing that, I'm hitting cancel. And the next option which is available in more rule type is that you'll be able to find out the unique cells which is not being repeated in any of the other cells, or you'll be able to choose the similar cells which is being repeated in other cells, and you can group those, and according to your requirement you'll be able to format. So if you need to say format the unique cells, let's choose the cells initially. These are the selections I have made: home ribbon, conditional formatting, top, bottom rules, more rules. So here I'll be having format only unique or duplicate values. I am choosing that. So if you choose duplicate, all the similar values will be highlighted in the format which we are giving. So since I need a unique one, so I am choosing unique, and the format in which I need to depict that is fill color, let it be this color. I am giving an outline border, and the font I'll be giving italic. Okay, press OK and press OK. See, 200 is not repeating in anywhere here. 200 is not repeating, 450 is not repeating, 250 is not repeating, 400 is not repeating, 350, 100. These many values which are being highlighted right now in the fill color slight yellow with outline border and italics are being highlighted because these are unique values. These values are not repeating in anywhere around the cells which we have selected. Okay, that is why we have got these cells highlighted. And the rest of the values might be repeating. See, 300 is here, and 300 is here, 550 is here, 550 is here, and see 0, 0. So since it is not unique, it is repeating, so that is not highlighted. So we'll be able to get the top values, bottom value, top percentage values, bottom percentage values. We'll be getting to know about the above average, below average. So we understood how we'll be able to implement unique and duplicate highlighting or formatting, right? So now let's see how we'll be able to implement above average and below average. Okay, for that let me undo, and after undoing I'm making the selection. This is the selection which I need to make, and home ribbon, conditional formatting, top bottom rules, more rules. So above or below average. Okay, I choose that. So if I need to have an above average, I'll be choosing above, or below, or equal to or below, and I can choose depending upon whichever I require, right? So I am choosing above average, format, bold and italic, and then I don't need border, I need a fill color of say maroon. Okay, see, the values which are above the average of the selection which I've made, all those values are highlighted in the fill color and bold and italics. So it is gonna be very simple for you, so you don't need to go through each of the cells and identify which is the average, which are the values which is above average. So you need to find out the average initially, and you need to go through each of the cells, and you need to compare the values in the cells with the average, right? All those things can be eliminated here by using conditional formatting, more rule type. The last method of conditional formatting which we'll be discussing here is formula based. So we can give formula, and the cells which satisfy the given condition in the given formula will be highlighted or formatted using our commands, and the cells which does not follow will be remaining intact. So here I'll be using formula to check on these values, and I'll be highlighting based on these values to this column. Okay, so what I meant to say is that, so depending upon the values in this columns, so if that values are being satisfied, it will be giving this column will be formatted according to that value. So let's begin. So I'm selecting these cells to be formatted in home ribbon, conditional formatting, new rule. So use a formula to determine which cells to format. So that will be the option which I'll be taking. So the formula here which I'm going to do is, so here we are seeing values from 12,000, 13,000, 8,000, 6,000, 11,000, 7,000. So I'm giving a formula where I need to highlight the cells which are above 10,000. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to present my formula here. So every formula starts with an equal to sign, so I put my equal to sign there, and I have chosen this cell. So see, the cell which I've chosen is AH3, right? AH3. Okay, so it is in absolute reference right now, so all the values will be compared to 12,000 itself. So I don't need that. So I need the column to be remaining the same, but rows need to be changing, right? So that absolute cell reference can be changed by removing the $sign before number 3. So the column will be fixed and the row will be moving. So that should be greater than 10,000, right? So, and the format in which it should be done is bold and italic, border, outline border should be given, and it should be given in this, maybe this color. Okay. See, so what we have done here is we have done the formula for these specific values, and the column which have been highlighted is this. So we selected these column and we compare the formula to the values which is present to these cells, and then after that whichever cell satisfies the condition, the corresponding row or the corresponding cell will be highlighted. We have done in formula based conditional formatting. Now we have understood how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. So let's move on and see how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Google Sheets. So in Google Sheet, we'll be talking about color scales, module types, and formula-based conditional formatting. Now let's move on to the platform Google Sheets and see how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in that platform. Now in Google Sheet, we'll be trying how to implement color scales with the data we are having here. So as I said in the case of Microsoft Excel as well, the first thing we should be doing in order to perform any conditional formatting is that we should be first selecting the cells in which we should be performing the formatting. Alright, so here the cells which I am choosing here is from B2 to B13. So I am selecting all the cells from B2 to B13, and for conditional formatting in Google Sheet is available in the option Format, Conditional Formatting. After choosing conditional formatting, and since we are trying to get the color scale, we can simply go to the tab color scale here, and by going to the color scale itself, we'll be able to see a depiction here according to the default settings. So in here, we'll be able to see the range. The selection which we have made is from B2 to B13. B2 to B13. So that is the particular selection which we have done to apply the formatting here. That is which is being depicted here. And here the minimum value will be given a green color and the maximum value will be given white color. So if you need to have a midpoint, you can add that here as well. So since this is the default setting, it is showing like this. So if you want to change the color to, let's say, a light blue, so the minimum value will be in light blue, and the maximum value, let's say, let it be dark blue. So here the minimum value will be in light blue and the maximum value are depicted in dark blue, so that we'll be having a clear idea on what is the magnitude of the values in particular cells just by seeing the color. And if you're happy with the color settings which you have provided, you can simply click on done, so that you have already created the conditional formatting for color scale for this particular cells. And if you feel that one of the conditional formatting which you have implemented in Google Sheets need to be replaced or need to be deleted, you can simply go to the conditional format which is being present here. If you want to edit, you can simply click on that and edit, and after that, after doing all the edits, you can click on done, so that the conditional formatting can be done. So if you feel that the conditional formatting which you have done right now need to be deleted, you can just hover around the conditional formatting which you have done, and then you will be able to see a trash can. So just by clicking those, you'll be able to delete. Now let's try to find out how we'll be able to find out the top 3 or the bottom 3 values in Google Sheets. So as I always mention, try to select the cells which you need to be selecting to perform conditional formatting. So after selecting this, you can go to the option Format, Conditional Formatting, and there you'll be able to see the selection which you have made. And then the format rules is not empty, so let's change that to custom formula, and we'll be giving a formula to identify the top 3 values and the bottom 3 values. So first let's understand what the top 3 values are. So here we'll be giving the particular formula so that we'll be getting the top 3 values. So the formula is equal to rank, and the column is B, right? So we'll be writing B2, that is the starting of the column, comma, and the range is from B2 to B13. So B$2 is to B$13, and we'll be closing the bracket, and we'll be given the condition less than or equal to 3. So by giving this formula, we'll be getting the top 3 values from the selection which we have made. So if you want to change the format, so let's say if you want to give this color, see the top 3 values in the selection will be highlighted by using this formula. So if you want the top 3 values, you can give done, and then you'll be having the top 3 values highlighted. What if you need to have the bottom 3 values, that the minimum 3 values? So the only difference here is that to the formula you will need to add comma 1. Comma 1 actually makes the software understand that it should be in the ascending order. So that's why we'll be getting the minimum 3 values out of this range which we have selected. So if you need to have a minimum value, just add comma 1 to the bracket, or else if you don't need, just remove that. And since I need the top 3 values, I'll be removing comma 1 so that I'll be getting the top 3 values, and I'll be opting for this color maybe, and done. See, now I've got the top 3 values out of the selection which I have made. Now let's see how many unique values and how many similar values are there in this particular selection we need to check. So that is what I'm going to teach you right now. So in order to identify how many cells contain unique values or how many cells contain similar values, to understand that, we can follow the formula in the particular cell here. So in D2, I'm going to write the formula, which is equals count if, and I'm going to open the bracket, and see, I'm supposed to give the range there. So I am going to select the particular range here, which is from B2 to B13. So I'll be pressing F4 to log those, and then after that I'll be giving the comma after getting the range and the criterion. So what am I searching for? So I'm searching for the quantity, if it is repeating or not, right? So since I'm searching for the quantity, I shall click on here, so which is nothing but B2, and I'll close my bracket. So after putting enter, I'll be knowing that 526 only comes once in the selection. So there's no other 526. So autofill is actually suggested here, so that if you want to autofill, you can press tick so that all the data will be given here, which is repeating or not. So in all the one shows that all those data are unique, and all the two shows that it is not unique, it is repeating in the selected cells. So all these ones depict that these values doesn't repeat in any of the cells. When you come to 2, see 339. See, here is also 339. So 339 appears 2 times, and all the rest other values are appearing only 1 time, since the values showing 1 will be unique and values showing more than 1 will be similar. It can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or any number of times, because how many times it appears in any other cell, it will be adding upon like that. So whenever it is 1, it is showing that it is unique value, and whenever it is not 1, it is showing that it has some similarity with other cells as well. Now let's try to find out how we'll be able to format the cells which are greater than a particular value from the selection which we have made. So the selection which I am making here is gonna be from B2 to B13, which is nothing but the quantity, and I'm comparing this value to a value in D1, which is nothing but 700. So let me just make the comparison initially in the column D itself. So I'll be writing the formula equals B2 is less than D1. I need D1 to be absolute reference, so I'm giving $ before and after D. So it is getting true. 526 is less than 700. So I'm going for the autofill as well, and this has been updated throughout the table. Okay. Now let's see, let's apply conditional formatting to the table. Now I have selected the cells in which I need to apply the conditional formatting, and then I'll be formatting conditional formatting from is not empty to custom formula, and here I'll be giving the formula which is nothing but the formula which I have taken here. So I can directly copy the formula from here and paste it here. See, now we have seen that for all the values which are true, we'll be getting the highlighted in the particular month. So in these months, the quantity is being less than 700. So in January, March, April, June, July, September, October, November, the quantity of sales have been less than 700. That is what we have come to know by doing this conditional formatting. Now if you want to change the formatting default, you can go and say you want to make this blue or say pink or something of that sort, you can select some color and then click done. So by doing this, we'll be able to format the cells in which is less than a particular value. So if you want to do formatting for the greater value, so which are the values which is greater than 700, you can directly give the formula. You can change it directly here by giving the lesser than formula to greater than formula, and while implementing the conditional formatting, so you can copy the same formula from here and paste it there, so that you will be getting the formatted for the values which is greater than 700. What is formatting? What is conditional formatting? After understanding the concepts of conditional formatting and formatting, we have directly moved on to the platforms Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets and try to implement conditional formatting in those two platforms.
What is VLOOKUP function? VLOOKUP function is actually a prominent and useful tool available to us in the platform Microsoft Excel. I am sure that at least some of you might be knowing what is VLOOKUP function or have heard about VLOOKUP function, right? So in this video, I'll be talking about VLOOKUP function and having a clear idea onto you so that you are having no doubts on what is VLOOKUP function. How does VLOOKUP function work? So just by understanding what VLOOKUP function is not good, right? So after understanding, we should be knowing how to implement this tool in the platform Microsoft Excel. So I'll be taking care of that after making you understand what is VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP from different sheet or workbook. Are you guys aware that we can not only perform the function VLOOKUP on the same sheet, but also on a different sheet or even from a different workbook? Isn't that great? How to copy VLOOKUP formula? After implementing VLOOKUP function to a particular cell, what if you want to copy that function and paste it to some other cells where you want to be using VLOOKUP function? So that is also made possible in the platform Microsoft Excel, and I'll also be teaching you how to copy a VLOOKUP formula. VLOOKUP multiple values. What if you want to implement the function VLOOKUP not just to one particular cell but to a group of cells? Is that possible? Yes, it is. We'll be able to implement VLOOKUP function to a group of cells from the data where we want to be importing that to the particular cells which we need to. That is also made possible in the platform Microsoft Excel, and I'll also be teaching to you how to do that. VLOOKUP largest and smallest formula. We are also given the opportunity to bring in just the largest or the smallest value which we need to be bringing to that particular cells of our requirement. So that is also made possible in the VLOOKUP function which is provided by Microsoft Excel. So what is VLOOKUP function? Let me honestly tell you that VLOOKUP function is the most simplest method to bring in the relevant data to any worksheet. You can bring in data from the same worksheet you're working on or even from a different worksheet. At the same time, you can also bring in data from a completely different workbook as well. Isn't that interesting? So let me explain to you how VLOOKUP function works in actual case. Consider that you are given the ordering details of certain products, which contains product ID, ordering date, and all those stuffs are there. But you need to bring in the product name with respect to the product ID of each of the products which have been ordered. That can be implemented, or the product name can be brought into that details by implementing VLOOKUP function. So with respect to the product ID, you will be able to bring in the product name by using the VLOOKUP function in the Microsoft Excel. So I'll be teaching you how to implement this in the platform Microsoft Excel. Before that, let me explain on what is the syntax for using VLOOKUP function. Initially, we should start with VLOOKUP, and in brackets, we should write lookup value. So with respect to which cell are you trying to bring in the data? So that cell should be selected in lookup value. After selecting that, you can give comma and select the table array. You can select the table array from which you need to bring in the data to that particular cell, right? So you can make the selection of the table array after this. After comma, you can get the column index number. So you have already selected the table array from which you need to be bringing in the data to that particular cell, right? So in that table array, from which column are you trying to get the data? So in the column array, if it's in the third column, you can write 3, or if it's in the fifth column, you can write 5. Then comma, true or false, like if you want to get the approximate value or the exact match. That can be selected by giving true or false. Close the bracket and hit enter so that you'll be getting the relevant data in that particular cell. Now let's directly move on to the platform Microsoft Excel and try implementing VLOOKUP function there. Now we are in the platform Microsoft Excel and we'll be learning here how to implement VLOOKUP function in the platform Microsoft Excel. Let's begin. So in this sheet we are having the data of the ordering details, and towards the right here we'll be having the data of the products which they have been ordered. So in the left side we are having the order placing date. These are the order placing date in the column A. In column B, we are having the customers who have placed the orders. In column C, we have the product ID, refers to the product which they have ordered. And in column D, we are having the units, number of units which they have ordered, right? So towards the right, we are having the details of the product which they have ordered, right? In the column H, we are having the product ID, and in the column I, we are having the product names corresponding to the product ID, and in the column J we are having the price of each of the items. Now let's see how to implement VLOOKUP function in the platform Microsoft Excel. See, towards the left we know these many data are there, but there is no product name. So by looking at the data on the left, we will not be able to identify which product they have ordered, but only we'll be knowing the product ID, right? So in column B, say I want to get the product name there. So product name. So I'm telling that in column E, I should be getting the product name corresponding to the column C, which gives product ID, right? So we'll be able to implement VLOOKUP function on column E. VLOOKUP syntax is VLOOKUP, you can press tab, and then here we'll be able to see lookup value. So with respect to which cell are you trying to get in the value in the particular cell? That is what is meant by lookup value. So I'm trying to get the product name with respect to the product ID, right? So in this row, the product ID which is coming is 5. So I've selected C2, comma, and table array. Table array is nothing but selecting the number of cells or selecting the table array from which we want to import the data to that particular cell. So here the table array would be this, right? So we have selected the table array where it contains the product ID, product name, and price. That is the data from which we need to be importing the value to that particular cell. So I have selected the table array, then comma, and column index number. So we have already selected the table array, right? So in that table array, in which column is the relevant data to which it should be transported? So in the table array, we know in product ID will be the column 1, product name will be the column 2, price will be column 3. So we need to be getting the product name. The product name is in which column? In column number 2, right? In column number 2 in the given selection. So I am writing 2, comma, and pressing tab, closing the bracket and hitting enter. See, here now we got the product name as bucket. Let's confirm. In product ID 5, see, it's bucket itself. So with respect to the product ID, we are getting the product name. Without even going to this data and finding out which is product ID 5, it is bucket. So without even going to these data, we'll be directly getting the product name by using the formula VLOOKUP function. Let's say like this, we need to bring in the price as well, right? So in column F, I need the price. So price, and in that column, let's apply the VLOOKUP formula, VLOOKUP. Let's just press tab there. VLOOKUP, lookup value. The lookup value will be the same, product ID, comma, table array. Table array will also be the same. So select the table array. I'll select the table array, comma, and select the column. In column index number. So price comes under which column? Column number 3. 1, 2, 3. So column number 3, comma, press tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, let's confirm that. In bucket, how much is the price? 5, bucket 250. So just by giving the VLOOKUP function, we are getting the value from another data and trying to implement that data in the particular cell which we want it to be. Now let's try to implement VLOOKUP function in a different sheet and then in a different workbook as well. So let's move to a different sheet. So in details, I'm moving to a different sheet where we are having the same details here: product ID, product name, and product price. Okay, so now what we need to do is from this table array, we'll need to be importing data from this table array to that particular cell. So let's see how that can be done. So let's say for Bobby, for the purchase Bobby has done, I am using the data from a different sheet. So I'm getting the product name here as well. So equals to VLOOKUP, press tab, and the lookup value will be 15 here. Since for Bobby the product ID is 15, I am choosing the cell C3 which contains 15. comma, and now is a place where we're going to be implementing the change. The table array from which we need to be importing data is from a different sheet, right? So what we need to do is go to that particular sheet and then simply select the data. So we have already selected the table array and hit comma and select the column index number. So we are trying to get the product name, right? So it is in column number 2, comma, tab, close bracket, hit enter. See, let's confirm that product ID 15 will be stapler. It is stapler, right? So we have taken the data from a different sheet to this sheet. So let's try implementing that for the price as well. Equal to VLOOKUP tab, product ID will be coming in C3, comma, table array moving to the different sheet, selecting the table array. Select the table array, column number 3, the price is in column number 3, comma, tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, we have got the price for the stapler. The stapler cost 225 and it is showing 225 itself. Now let's try implementing VLOOKUP function from a different workbook itself. So for that, let's open a new workbook. Yes, I've opened a new workbook. Let's copy the details here. So I'm copying the details, copy, paste. I'm arranging it. Yeah. Now we have copied the details to a different workbook, right? Now let's start implementing it in a different workbook. So in row 4 for Kiran, I am getting it from a different workbook. So let's see how that can be done. Equals to VLOOKUP, press tab, and now let's look for the lookup value, which is nothing but this one, which is C4, corresponding to that row, and comma, let's select the table array. So here, while selecting the table array, we need to import the data from a different workbook, right? So we need to go to that workbook and select the table array. So selecting the table array. So this is the table array which I want to be selecting. I've selected that. Hit comma. So in which column is the data which I want to be importing? So that column index number of product name will be 2, comma, hit tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, I've imported the data of product name corresponding to the product ID 4. Product ID 4 is bottle itself. I've implemented VLOOKUP function from a different workbook itself. Let's see that for the price also. VLOOKUP, press tab. So the lookup value will be the same, comma, the table array. I'm moving to the different worksheet, different workbook. I've selected that, comma, the price will be in column 3, comma, tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, we have got the price of bottle from a completely different workbook. So now we have understood how to implement VLOOKUP function in the same sheet, in a different sheet, and also in a different workbook as well. Now let's see how we'll be able to copy the VLOOKUP formula in Microsoft Excel. Right. For that, let me do the VLOOKUP formula right now. VLOOKUP, lookup value would be C2, comma, the table array which I would want to be selecting is this, comma, column index number for the product name. The column index number in the table array is 2, right? It comes in the second column. 2, comma, and then tab, close the bracket and hit enter. So we have got the VLOOKUP function in this particular cell. So try to copy it vertically down. So if I'm doing that, see, there is an error coming here, right? So mainly that is because in this cell, the table array is not locked. So we should be locking that, or else, while we are moving down the cells, the table array will also be moving. So we don't need that to happen. So we are locking it here. Press F4 and hit enter. And then copy it once again. See, now we are able to get the names of the product with respect to the product ID in the column E. So we have copied the VLOOKUP formula to all these cells. Let's check it here. So for 8, it's coloring book. Is it? Yeah. In the table, it is 8, it is coloring book. 4, it's bottle. And then say 5 is bucket. Yeah. So that we cross-checked as well. Now what if I'm trying to copy it to the right side? See, it's showing calculator. So why is it showing calculator when I'm copying it where I should be getting price here? Let me check for that. So in this cell, the formula here is the value which they're looking for is D2. The column in which they're looking for is 2. So in 2, you'll only be getting the product name. That is one thing to be changed. And product ID they're looking for is on D2, which is 12, which is not a product ID but unit. But so what we need to do is we need to change that to C2, and this 2 to 3 since the price is coming on the third column, right? Press enter. See, we have got the value for the price of a bucket. So for the bucket, we are getting 250. So 250 is the price and 250 is reflecting in the cell as well. And now try copying this down. See, now we are able to copy this down as well. For Bobby, who purchased 17 stapler, and the cost of a stapler would be 225. See, 225. So for chocolates, it's 5. Let's say whereas chocolate is on 13th, which is costing 5. Chocolate is on 13th, which is costing rupees 5. See, we are able to copy the VLOOKUP function to all these cells, and we are able to get the relevant data in each of the particular cells, right? So now we have done copying VLOOKUP formula. Now let's understand in VLOOKUP function how we'll be able to bring in multiple values at once. For example, what if you need to apply VLOOKUP function at once for product name and price for all the cells here? So in one go, you need to get the product name and the price. So you need not go for product name at once and then implement that for price again. So here, by looking at VLOOKUP at multiple values, we'll be able to bring in both of them in one go. So we'll see how we'll be able to implement that. So let me implement that here. So VLOOKUP function. So the VLOOKUP value will be this, comma. So let me fix the column here so that the column will not be changing. So for that, I'll be implementing this, and I have to select the table array, right? So I'm selecting the table array here. Yes, that is done. And I'm also locking that. Pressing F4, comma, and I need the column index number here. So for product name, the column index number here would be 2, and for price, the column index number would be 3. So since we are having a dynamic column number, what we should be doing is we should be going for columns, open bracket, and we should be selecting the initial 2 cells. That is, this one is to I4, right? So make sure that you're fixing the product ID cell here. So that for that, we need to fix it here by pressing F4. Yeah, fix that as well. Close the bracket, comma, tab, close the bracket, hit enter. Now we have got the value here, which is bucket. For product ID, the product name is bucket here, right? So let's copy that to here. See, we are getting the value 250 here. We have only implemented one VLOOKUP function where we'll be getting the product name and price at the same time. And let's go down and see if we'll be able to copy it till the end. See, we have copied VLOOKUP function for the product name and the price in one go. We can also copy by simply double clicking on the right side bottom corner. See, so we have copied the product name with respect to the product ID and the price with respect to the product ID from this table array which we have selected. So we have learned how to implement multiple values at once using VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel. Now let's come to the final topic that we are going to discuss in this video in VLOOKUP function. The final topic is nothing but to bring in the largest or the smallest value of our concern to the particular cell. So let's see how we'll be able to implement that. I'm going to look at the price ranges and get the maximum price and the minimum price. So that will be the example which I'm going to take to implement the smallest value and the largest value through VLOOKUP function. So that in order to have a minimum value, let me write minimum here, and then here I should be getting the minimum value of the prices. Okay. So here let me apply the VLOOKUP function equals VLOOKUP, and then since we are going to find the smallest value, let me put min minimum, open bracket, then we'll be selecting the range. The range will be this much. So this is the range. I've selected the range, close bracket, comma, and table array. So the table array would also be the same. So let me select the table array. I've selected that as well, comma, and column index number. Since the range of selection and the table array are the same,
So the column index number would be 1, comma, tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, we have got the minimum value in the price range. So let's check that. 10, 3, 3, 1, 20, 250, 10, 40, 70, 230, 80, 55, 210, 5, 40, 225. So in all these ranges, the minimum value would be 3. And we have got the right minimum value. So let me find out how to find the maximum value. So in order to find the maximum value, I'll be finding that here for the price range as well. Maximum value for your reference. So I'm applying the lookup function here, which is nothing but equals VLOOKUP and maximum value. Since we are finding the maximum value, I'm writing max, open bracket. I'm selecting the range from which I need to find the maximum value, close bracket, comma, table array. Since here the table array and the range would be the same, so I'm selecting the same thing again. And the column index number. Since the table array and the range is the same, so for us the column index number here would be 1, comma, and here we need the exact match, right? So I'll be putting 0 and then closing bracket, hit enter. And now I've got the maximum value, which is 250. Let me check here. 225, 210, 230, 250. There's no value which is greater than 250. So we have found out the method to implement VLOOKUP function for maximum and minimum values as well. Now we have come to the end of the video where we understood what is VLOOKUP function and how we'll be implementing VLOOKUP function as well. Apart from that, we also studied how to implement VLOOKUP function from different sheet or even from a different workbook, right? Apart from that, we also learned how to copy VLOOKUP formula and also to implement multiple values at the same time. So that's what we implemented here. So I needed to get the product name and the price at the same time. So I got the multiple values at the same time in one go. So we looked about that, and then we also ended up having a look at how to find the maximum and minimum value through VLOOKUP function.
So this is exactly the same manner how your HLOOKUP works. Just the difference is that it checks the topmost row. So your syntax is also same for HLOOKUP. It would be lookup value, that is whatever you want to search in the topmost row. Table array, that is you have to specify the range. Then you have to select the column index number, that is whatever you had over here, the column index number, the number of column which you wanted to display. Since our city was 5th, that is why we mentioned 5th. Earlier there we wanted name, so that is why we mentioned 2nd. So in HLOOKUP it would be number of rows, right? Row index number you will have to specify. Like if you want a row which is at the topmost third row from the top, then you'll have to write our third argument as 3. If you want 10th row value of the same particular selected column, then you'll have to write 10 over there as a third argument. Now you have to look for your fourth argument, which would be again a Boolean argument, that is true and false, which would be again depending on the exact value and the approximate value. If it is false, it will try to search for exact value. If it is true, it will try to search for approximate value. Everything is same over here in HLOOKUP. Just the difference is that it would check for topmost row and give you value according to the number of row which you have specified. That's it. Let's try to see this in Excel. But before that, all the parameters which we saw for VLOOKUP, that is, it is case insensitive, it matches with the first match, and it returns null if it is exact and still doesn't have any value, all holds true for HLOOKUP as well as they did for VLOOKUP. Now let's try and see. So yes, now what we'll try to do is, we'll try to see how HLOOKUP works in a very similar fashion to our VLOOKUP. Now you can try and understand this code. This D12 is reference for this Ajay, and Ajay it will try to find out in the topmost row. If Ajay is there in topmost row, if it is having exact match, since we are passing it false over here, then it shall check the table, and in this table whatever is the selected range, in that it should return the third rows that columns value in whichever this Ajay is there. So we can see that Ajay is there in the second column. So it should return us the value whichever is there in the third row of that particular column, that is 1, 2, 3, that is Rahul. So therefore we are getting Rahul over here. We will try to check one more example of HLOOKUP. Now we'll try to check Bangalore. If Bangalore is there in our first row, then we'll try to return the value which is at the 5th position. If not, then it would return null. We'll again trying to check the exact match situation. Okay, so now since Bangalore is there, so it will return us something. So we are checking E12, that is we are giving reference of Bangalore. You can directly write string Bangalore here as well. Then we are giving range. Then we want 5th row value if it is matched of that particular row in which Bangalore is there. So Bangalore is there in which column? Our 5th column, that is cities. Then we will get what value? 5th value if it is exact match. So what we should get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is Pune. So when we will hit enter, we will get Pune. So this is how your HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP works. They both are very similar. Just one is leftmost column, vertical lookup. Other one is horizontal lookup, topmost row.
First, we'll be covering the introduction to graphs and charts in Excel, where we will be looking into the different charts that is provided in Microsoft Excel. Then, we'll be diving into the live workbook to understand the implementation and the explanation of the following charts on Excel workbook, that are pie charts, column charts, bar charts, and column versus line chart. So, now let's move on to the introduction to graphs and charts in Excel. As you can see, the user has already clicked on the Insert tab, which opens up a ribbon of options. The rectangular box highlights the different chart options that are available in Microsoft Excel. So, the first option that is provided is line and column charts. Coming to the next one, it is line and area charts. The third one, it is pie charts, or you can also say donut charts. And then we have this option that is used for combo charts, that is, for example, line versus column chart, etc. Now we have a separate section that is dealing with pivot chart, and we have an exclusively different video for the same. So now moving on to the next topic, that is implementation and explanation of charts on Excel workbook. So for this to happen, we'll be directly moving into the live Excel workbook. So here we'll be starting off with pie charts. As you can see on the screen, we have a small report of India's COVID vaccine data, and we have a table consisting of 5 states and each representing the number of vaccine doses that they have delivered to the people living in their respective states. So when you now visually analyze, we can get to know that Maharashtra has provided 3 crore 80 lakh vaccines to the people living in Maharashtra. Now, when we consider all the states in the country, this data is not that easy to visually analyze because there are a lot of numbers that is coming into play. So in order to avoid that situation, we use pie charts or charts to analyze the situation of vaccine doses that is getting delivered in each state and which state is doing the best amongst them. So now let's get started with the analysis. So to begin with, we'll be selecting the table for analysis. Then we'll go into the insert option and go on to select the pie chart options. So here you can see that we have 3 options, that is 2D pie, 3D pie, and donut options. So I personally prefer 3D pie, so I am going ahead with it. So there you go. We have a beautiful representation of the states and how well they are doing with their vaccine doses delivering to the people. So now you can see here the blue color is Maharashtra, which is having the majority of vaccine that is getting delivered. Since then we'll check out Karnataka. Karnataka is the orange bit. Then we'll understand that Kerala is doing well, and then comes Tamil Nadu, and finally Andhra Pradesh. Now we can play around this graph. For example, just by double clicking, we can get the format chart area. Now we'll go to the series option, where we'll go to the format data series and then click on this option. Now we can see that we can tilt the angle of the entire graph. So if you want to show that which state is doing best and you want to keep that data first, you can rotate Maharashtra slice into the front. See, that's how it is done. Now, if you want to get an exploded view of the chart, we can go ahead with the pie explosion. So as you can see, the respective pieces are getting exploded. Now if you want to undo it, just bring it back. Now if you want to just show the best performing state, that is Maharashtra, just click on this and you can just drag it outside, and there you go. You can see that the only Maharashtra's pie is getting pulled out from the rest of the pie. Now we have another modes of formatting the graph, that is the options that we have on the right side of the chart. Here you can go ahead and just hover around these and play around with these. So you can see the different types of charts that has been provided in Microsoft Excel, that is the different formats. So I personally like this with the black background and also the data labels. Now for data labels, you can also move to the plus option that is given. If you don't want the data labels to be shown on the chart, you can just remove it, and you can see that the pies are not affected with the names of the states. So the names of states are given below, but if you require the data labels that you want it to be on the pies for the easy visualization, you can go ahead and click on the checkbox, and you can see that the values of the respective states are on the chart. So now that we have completed with pie charts, let's move ahead with the column charts. So as you can see on the screen, there are two tables, one consisting of the year-wise sales unit of a product and another one consisting of the monthly sale in the year 2009. So now here we're going to analyze the monthly sales first, where we'll understand which months the product sales was best. Now to do that, we'll first click on the range and then go to the insert option, go to the column and click on 2D columns. Since we already used 3D column, this time we'll take 2D column bar. Now from the analysis of this chart, we can see that in the months of January, September, October and December, the number of units of the products which went to sale are higher. It may be because of the festive seasons of Christmas, Diwali and the New Year that people go out for shopping and buy the products. So this reason the sales of the product has increased drastically. Now let's understand the year-wise sales. So to do that, we'll go and click on the range of the table and then go to insert option, go to column and hit the 2D bar. Now when you look at the bar, there is some abnormality. It's also taking the year as a subject and making a column out of it. But we wanted the year to be in the horizontal axis. But in the horizontal axis, we have an ascending order of numbers from 1 to 12. That's because Excel considers both of the columns as data because both of them are numbers. But in this case, one of them was numbers. In the right side, we had the numbers and the left side, we had the months, which were text. So in order to change that, we just have to click on the chart, go to the select data options, and here we have the legends entry series. We just have to uncheck this option here and go here and click edit and show them what is the range that we want to be shown in the horizontal axis. Now go ahead and click OK and the final OK, and you can see that we have the year-wise sales as beautiful as it is. Now from this chart we can analyze that the year-wise sales has increased beautifully starting from 2001 to 2012, and this is a very positive sign for a company's growth. Now moving on to the next chart, that is bar chart. The same way we used column charts to be analysis, we can use bar charts also. To do that, we just have to go and select the range. Now the normal way of doing it is by clicking the range, going to the insert option and then clicking on the columns and bar option, and you can see the 2D bar. But there is also a shortcut. The shortcut key for creating chart is Alt F1. But here you can see it is a column chart. So in order to change it into bar chart, just have to right click on the chart and go to change chart type and hit bar and click OK. There you go. You have a beautiful chart in front of you which shows the monthly sales in the format of bar chart. Alright, so now since we have seen both column chart and bar chart, now let's go ahead and understand combo charts with the example of column versus line chart. Now, we have been provided with the data set that represents world's COVID data, and we have 5 countries and with respect to their total cases and the total recovered people from COVID. Now to begin the analysis, first we'll select the range. Then we'll go to insert option, or we can use the shortcut key directly, that is Alt F1, that shows the column versus line chart. Now we'll right click the mouse button and go to change the chart type, hit combo and select the first column. We have different options for the combo charts. First we'll select the clustered versus column line. Now we'll click OK and we get the column versus line chart. There you go. Now here, the column represents the total cases and the line represents the total recovered people from COVID. Now, this chart clearly distinguishes the number of people that haven't been recovered. For example, let's take USA. The USA's COVID data, when we analyze, we can see that the total recovered people stays in between 2,80,000, it's hanging around 2 crore 80 lakh people, and the total number of cases that USA has found out is hanging around 3 crore 40 lakhs. So there are around 50 lakh people that needs to be recovered still now. So this is the beautiful way of representing and using column versus line chart and the application of combo charts. Now here we can see that both the column and the line chart are using one primary axis. But if you want to create another primary axis for the line graph, we could do that also. So for that to happen, just double click on the chart, go to the options here and go to series total recovered and go to the option here and click on secondary axis. So when you do that, you can see that the line graph got its own secondary axis. Now the column chart refers to this as its primary axis and line chart uses this as its axis. So this way we can play around the layout of the charts and we can represent the data as beautiful as possible.
What is pivot table and why is it important? I know there are a lot of people who use the software Microsoft Excel and still don't know what pivot table is. For them, we'll be explaining briefly what pivot table is and what is its importance. We'll be talking about its significance and advantage of using a pivot table in the initial part of the video itself. After having an idea on pivot table, we'll be directly moving on to the platform Microsoft Excel and learn how to create a pivot table. After understanding how to create a pivot table, there are a lot of ways in which we'll be able to implement pivot table in the platform Microsoft Excel. So we'll be talking on the ways or method in which we'll be able to sort or summarize data from a data sheet using pivot table. We'll also be talking about the various tools which Microsoft Excel provides us for implementing pivot table. Pivot table and its importance. Pivot table is actually a small table consisting of few rows and columns which provides the complete idea on what the datasheet is trying to convey. We need not go to the datasheet and give a study on it to understand. We could just create a pivot table of our requirement to understand what the datasheet is trying to convey. Thereby, it will be more easy and convenient for us to know what is being conveyed to us in the datasheet. We'll also be able to interpret the data based on several factors using pivot table. Consider you are given a datasheet consisting of a lot of details like ordering date, manufacturing date, product ID, product name, quantity, customer name, and all those data are being depicted in the datasheet which is given to you. From the sheet, what if you're asked to get the details of the customers who have bought a particular item? So usually what you should be doing is you should go to the particular data sheet and then try to find out who all has bought that particular item. So cell by cell, you go and check who all has bought that particular item, right? So instead of doing that, that is a tiring process, right? So you need to go through complete cells and identify who all has bought that particular item. So instead of doing that, let us use pivot table. So just by creating a pivot table, you will be automatically getting the details of the customers who has bought that particular item. Isn't that more easy and convenient for you rather than going to the data sheet and identifying from each of the cells in the sheet? So that's all about a pivot table. And that is the main reason why is it important for you to use a pivot table rather than moving to the data sheet and trying to find out the details from that sheet. Now let's move on to the platform Microsoft Excel and learn how we can create a pivot table there. Now let's learn how to create pivot table. We are already in the platform Excel, and using this data which is available to us, let's try how to create pivot table so that it will be easy and convenient for us to interpret the data which is being conveyed to us in this particular sheet. So in order to create pivot table, it will be made available in the insert ribbon, pivot table. Just by clicking on pivot table, we'll be having a pop-up box coming, and it will be asking for the table or range of selection from which the data should be segregated, right? So the selection is actually made automatically using the software, and that is the right selection made. So I'm not doing anything there. And after that, it also asks where you want the pivot table to be, on a new worksheet or in the same existing worksheet. So I need to have it on a completely new worksheet. So I'm going forward with new worksheet and clicking OK. See, now I have been transferred to a completely new worksheet where I'll be building my pivot table based on the data which was available to us in that particular sheet. So it is made available in sheet 1, and in orders we'll be having all the data which was imported. So I am making it like this. And here, if you look through the data, we'll be understanding that in the data they convey the order placing date, the customers who have placed the orders, product ID, units, product name, price, and locations. So based on these informations, we need to be creating the pivot table. And in the pivot table section, we are already having those elements here: order placing date, customer name, product ID, units, product name, price, location. All those things are made available in the pivot table options as well, right? So we'll be able to start creating a pivot table just by selecting any element and dragging and dropping it to any of these columns. Okay, so let's try. So I'm dragging price into the value column. So I'll be getting the sum of price in the pivot table. But actually this doesn't make much sense, right? So let's try adding more things to the pivot table. So let me try adding customer name. So towards each of the rows, I'm adding customer's name. So I'll be getting that pivot table with the respective customers and the amount of purchase which they have done in that particular store. Okay, so I have already got that. So what if just try moving this customer to columns? See, all those things will be appearing in column. So all those customers and the price which they have spent on the store will be coming on each of the columns. But this doesn't find so attractive or convenient for us to read through. So I am making it reverse. So I'm getting it back to the rows. So all the customers are coming in different rows. We can increase the understanding of the data just by increasing the column so that we'll be having more data to us and more convenient for us to understand the data. So I'm adding location to the columns. So online and official store. So both these are coming in separate columns. Now we are having a detailed breakup on the purchase. So we're not only getting the prices or the amount which is being spent by each of the customers, we are also getting an idea on where they have spent. Have they spent through online mode or offline mode? That idea or that information is being passed on very easily using pivot table. Now the only one remaining is filters. We haven't tried filters but everything else. Let's see what filters do. Let's try adding product name to filters. Nothing has happened to the table apart from a new cell being added here, which is product name, right? So all the data in the table remains the same. At the same time, one cell is being added. Let's say you want to filter out the data which is being depicted in the table. So what if you don't want to see all the data or all the purchases made by each of the customers? You just want to know who has bought a particular item. If that need to be made possible, we have to use the option filters. And in filters, we have already added product name, right? So in product name, we should be choosing which particular product you want to see. So only those customers who have purchased that particular product will be depicted in the table. So I've already dropped down product name to filters and it is already being depicted in the first cell. So go to the drop down arrow here and then select the product which you want to be depicted. All the others will be eliminated and only the customers who have bought that particular item will be depicted in the pivot table. So let's say I am selecting stapler. So after selecting stapler and clicking OK, all these data will be modified in such a manner that only the persons or only the customers who have ordered or who have purchased stapler will be depicted. Let's see. So I have selected stapler and clicking OK. See, all those customers, I'll zoom in a bit. See, all those customers who have purchased stapler are being depicted now. All other customers are not. We'll be able to filter out all those things using filter option, which is made available in pivot table. Now let's go back to the initial condition which showed all the customers and see in how many ways we'll be able to sort the data in the pivot table, or in how many ways we'll be able to summarize the data in the pivot table. So I'm going to the normal position. Let me select all and then OK. So I have selected all and I have got all the details of the purchases which is being made by each of the customers. Now let's see in how many ways we'll be able to convey, summarize or sort the data using pivot table. So here we know that all these things are represented as values, right? So apart from that, what if you need to see it in some other way? So for that, sum of price is there. So just click on that and you'll be seeing the option value field settings. And after choosing that, you'll also be having a dialog box here where you will be able to present that as sum, count, average, maximum, minimum, product. All these options are being made available to us in this platform. So here, how we depict the values are as sum, not count, average, maximum, minimum, but we have taken sum. So that is what the several ways of having the data in the pivot table. So apart from that, in the tab show value as. So now we have not done any calculations. So if we need to do any calculations and we need to present this data based on some calculations, that can also be made possible here. So for that, just click on here and you will be able to find a lot of options. Percentage of grand total, percentage of column total and all those things. So I'm selecting percentage column total. Okay. I'm selecting that and I'm clicking OK. So all these things will be considered in percentage. I have taken column, right? So in each column, it will be representing for 100%, and all these shares will be divided according to the purchases which was made by each of the customers. So by viewing this table, we'll be able to know that in grand total, it shows 15% of the purchase is made by Kiran. So without going to the data set, we'll be able to find that maximum purchase is already done by Kiran. See, there's no other. The second highest is 14%, which is done by Bobby, and then 11 by Sachin. So we'll be able to get a data or interpret the data or have an idea of what the data is trying to convey through pivot table. Let's try out in a different way as well. So now we have got the percentage proportion based on the purchase made by each of the customers. What if you want to get the details for each of the product which was sold? Okay, so that can also be done. So for that, what I'm doing is simply taking customer section away and adding product name towards the row. So here I'll be getting the percentage of sale for each of the product. Here we'll be able to know that 32% of the product was being sold by stapler. See, out of all these products, 32% of the amount was done by the sale of stapler and 21% by bucket, 18% by selling calculator. All these data can be interpreted using pivot table, and it also helps you to forecast and manage your inventory in such a manner that you'll not be running out of stock. So what if you need to see the value as currencies? So if it is in Indian rupee, you need to see the amount in Indian rupees. So how can that be made possible? Let me show you. So first for that, we should change from the percentage to value. So there should not be any calculations based on percentages, right? So initially we should be removing that, and then we shall apply currency to each of the value. So in order to remove the percentage, we need to go here, value field settings, and then show value as. Here I'm going to select no calculations and click OK. So all the calculations on percentage which was done is already removed. So now let's try to present the values as currencies. For that, let me go here, value field settings. An amount is always a sum, right? So in order to get the value as currency, we should be keeping it as sum itself. And in order to get the currency, or in order to get the value represented as a currency, we should be going for number format. And then you'll be having the option of currency here. And then you'll be able to select the decimal places. How many decimal places do you want? I don't need any, so I'm making it 0. And then I'm clicking on OK. So I'm getting the values as currencies, right? So that can also be made possible while implementing pivot table in Excel. Now, what if you need to have a detailed breakdown on the purchases made on each of the products? So Here you will be able to see books, bottle, bucket till stapler, right? So these are the products which you have been selling or the company has been selling. So what if you need to have a detailed breakdown on who has purchased each of these products? So under each of these products, you need to know who all has made the purchases. So how can that be made to the pivot table? So in order to get the details of the people who have bought the corresponding items, for that what we should be doing is select the customers and drag it down to the rows. See, now we are able to know a detailed breakup on each of the products. So for books, Bobby, Sachin, Sania has purchased. Sania has purchased through online mode and spent an amount of 55. Sachin and Sania, they both have spent 55 and they have come to the store and they have bought it. So total amount of purchase done for the books is 165. Similarly, for any other product, say stapler. The stapler was bought by 4 people, that is Bobby, Gopal, Kiran and Robin. And a total amount of 1,125 was spent on purchasing stapler, out of which 675 was spent on online mode and 450 was spent on offline mode. And Bobby has spent 450, Gopal 225, Kiran 225 and Robin 225. So we are able to get a detailed breakup on the purchases or on the sales which they have been doing. So using pivot table, it comes in handy for us to get the relevant details very easily, even without going to the details and understanding the data set completely. Just by using pivot table, we'll be able to get in the required and relevant value with much ease. Now let's see what are the various tools available to us in Excel so that we'll be able to create pivot table in a more convenient and ideal manner. Some of the tools mentioned here are layout, style, insert slicer, data source and refresh. Coming to layout tool. Layout tool helps you to change the layout of the table without affecting or without imparting any change in the data which is present within the table. You will be able to change subtotals, grand totals, any other layouts, any other rows which is present within the table. In style tool, you have the option to modify the headers and also you will be able to implement banded rows or column. Insert slicer is actually one kind of filter. It is more convenient and ideal for us to use insert slicer in order to easily change the input and get the updated output very easily. Data source. Now you know that before creating pivot table, we need to be selecting the data source from which it need to be considering the data to the pivot table, right? So what if you need to change the data source which you have already selected? What if you updated the data source and you need to completely change to the completely new data source? So that is made possible in data source. So you will be able to change the data source which you have initially selected while creating a pivot table. A refresh tool enables you to impart any changes which you have imparted to the data source. While creating a pivot table, you have already selected the data source. And what if you have added anything or anything new? Let it be any new product or let it be any new customer or anything of that sort. If you have imparted any modifications or any change to the data source and you need that changes to be reflected on the pivot table, then you need to apply the tool refresh in order to get that reflected in the pivot table. Now let's see how we'll be able to implement these various tools in the platform. Here, the tools in pivot table will be coming in the last 2 ribbons. So you'll be having additional 2 ribbons while you are using or while you are implementing pivot table in Excel. So the 2 tool ribbon which is available in pivot table are analyze and design. So let's start with design. While you're moving on for the design ribbon, you will be able to change the layout, change the style option and other style as well. So coming to the layout tool which you are having in Excel to implement pivot table. So you are having subtotal, grand total, report layout, blank rows. So in subtotals, we are having options. Do not show subtotals. So what do you mean by subtotals? Subtotals are nothing but what is being depicted here. So these are subtotals of the books. So subtotals of the book which is being implemented in the online purchase is 55 and subtotal of the books which is implemented in the offline purchase is 110 and the total or the grand total of the books are coming as 165. So this is the grand total and these are the subtotals. So if you want to remove the subtotal, you can simply go here and do not show subtotals. See, so all the subtotals for the books, bottle, bucket, calculator, all those are being removed and only the grand totals will be present. See, only the grand totals will be present. This is because we have gone to subtotals and told do not show subtotals. And we are also having the option show all subtotals at bottom of group, show all subtotals at top of group. So if you want to have the subtotal at bottom of the group, see, For books, the subtotal is coming at the bottom. And if you want to have that at the top, you can also try this. So the books is coming here, and in that cell itself, you'll be having the grand total. So I think it's good to go with show subtotal at bottom of the group, so that, it will be adding up here, 55, 55 at 110, 55, 55, and these will be adding up to give you 165. And these will be the subtotal for book, bottle, bucket, and all the other products as well. So that is all about subtotal. What about grand total? The same thing is available for grand total as well. So off for rows and columns, on for both rows and columns, on for rows only, on for column only. So if you want to implement any of these, you can do that as well. So let me try off for both off. Now grand total is completely turned off for both rows and columns. See, for both rows and columns, the subtotal is eliminated, and we can turn on by clicking on for rows and columns. See, grand total is coming back for each of the rows and each of the columns. So for columns, grand total is coming here, and for rows, it is coming here. Grand total is coming here. See, that is all about grand totals. We'll also be able to include blank rows at wherever we want. See, we include blank row after one product. So if you want that, you can do, or if you don't, you can remove that. And report layout is one other thing. You can have a complete different layout for each of those. So this in compact form, show outline form. So this will be the outline in which some more spacing will be given to each of the columns. And for show in tabular form, so all the cells will be depicted in a tabular form. All those things you will be able to do in the layout tool. Okay. Now let's move on and see what style tool provides us. So row headers, column headers, banded rows, banded columns. These are the things which is being provided in the style tool. Okay. So what if I untick row headers? All the row headers will not be highlighted. So when I'm ticking it, all the row headers are highlighted. Column headers. When I'm unticking column headers, sum of price, column labels, online, offline, store, grand total, all those things are not being highlighted because that box is unticked. And if you want to make that highlighted, just give a tick and all those things will be highlighted. And banded rows is nothing but giving alternate band to all the rows. So that is what is being implemented by banded rows. And banded column is the same thing which is being implemented to alternate columns. Now let's see how we'll be able to implement insert slicer. I told you before that insert slicer is nothing but it's actually a dynamic filter which we'll be able to bring in right next to the pivot table, so that we'll be able to dynamically change or filter out the data which need to be depicted in the pivot table. Let's see how that can be done. For implementing insert slicer, we need to go to the ribbon, analyze, and then here we are having the tool insert slicer. So after selecting the insert slicer, you will be given the option to select which element you should be selecting in order to have the slicer based on that. So I am selecting price. So price is what I need to filter using insert slicer. So I have chosen price and then select OK. So now I have got the slicer. So this is what a slicer looks like, and it can be moved around and all the size can be adjusted here by doing this. Or you also have specific options to modify their sizes for the buttons here and for the table size here. So for the buttons can be arranged. So if you want to increase the number of columns, that can be done. So I need to have 3 columns. So I gave 3 columns, and height of the buttons need to be reduced. And also the width of the buttons also need to be reduced. So I have reduced that as well. And then coming to the table height need not be this much. So that can also be reduced here. Yes, I'm reducing that, and this looks perfect. So we have got this price slicer here. So if you want to filter out the data on the pivot table based on the price, you can select those. So now all the data in the pivot table are based on the price 55. So 55 is nothing but books, and books have been bought by these 3 persons. Okay. And what if you need to select more than one? You can just press Ctrl and select any other tools as well, and you will be able to add those elements to the pivot table. That is what a slicer does. And you can have more than one slicer as well. So if you need to have more than one slicer, you can simply go to the analyze ribbon and then insert slicer. And then here you will be able to insert any of the slicers which you would like to add. So that's it on slicer. So the next tool available to us is data source. So we know that while creating a pivot table, we need to select the data source, right? So what if you need to change the data source in between? So that can be made possible using change data source tool in Excel. We'll be able to change data source by going to the analyze ribbon, and then we'll be having the option called change data source. Here we'll be able to change the data source, and see, this is the initial data source which we had selected. So if you want to change it, you can simply change the address of the data sets which you want to implement. So these are till row 27. So yeah, these are till row 27. So what if I need till only row 21? So what I can do is I can go here and say 21. So I'll be having a new data set, and that will be only till row 21. You can also change the data source just by selecting it as well. So now see, we have given 21 and it is only till 21 here. You can also choose the data set by clicking over here and making your necessary selections. So even if you have selected the data set once, you can always change the data sets whenever you need. The final tool which we'll be talking here in this video is the refresh. What if you have made any change to the dataset which you have already selected? What if you added any new product to the list? Or what if you need to add any new customers to the list you have already made? So any change to those data sets which you have already selected, and you need those changes to be imparted in the pivot table as well, those things can be done only after using the refresh tool. And you can avail this tool of refresh in the analyze ribbon, and you can have the option right here. So after clicking here, any changes which is being imparted to the data sets which have already selected, all those things will be updated in the pivot table as well. So what I'm trying to say is, this is the data set which we have already selected. What if you need to add any new customers? Instead of Kiran, you need to make it Kumar. So any such changes if you have made in the dataset, all those things, let it be not just a customer name. It can be any product. If you're adding any new product, or if you have sold any other product apart from the data which you have entered here. So if you need to add that as well, all those things can be done. All the edits and modifications can be done. And after doing all those modifications, if you need that data to be reflected in the pivot table, you need to refresh the data. We have understood what pivot table is. What is its significance and importance? Why is it so relevant while you're using Excel? Then we moved on to the platform Microsoft Excel and learned how to create pivot table in the platform. Then we came to know about the number of ways in which, or the number of methods in which we'll be able to apply or implement or showcase pivot table to your viewers. All those things, all those what is being imparted in the datasheet can be conveyed to your viewer very easily using pivot table and using several methods, using calculations, using currency, using value, and one after the other you will be able to add. And you can also have the complete breakup of the data which is present within the data sheet. We looked at the various tools available in the platform and how that can be helping in order to present your pivot table to anyone, which include layout, style, insert slices, data source, and refresh. All these tools enables us to present our pivot table in the most convenient and most ideal way to your viewers. So I hope you have had a clear idea on what is pivot table and why you should be implementing or following pivot table, so that you need not go through any of the data which is provided to you. And even without studying the data within the sheet, you will be able to find out the summary or find out what it has been trying to convey with pivot table. And at the same time, it offers us to have a different perspective based on several factors. Let it be from the customer's view, let it be from the product's view, or let it be from any other view which you want. Can be manipulated based on our interest or requirement or needs.
First, we'll be discussing why keyboard shortcuts play an important role in Microsoft Excel. Then we'll be directly moving into keyboard shortcuts. I have divided keyboard shortcuts into 4 parts because in Microsoft Excel there are n number of keyboard shortcuts. We'll be discussing the most important and useful keyboard shortcuts in respective categories. So first, we'll be discussing the most frequently used basic shortcuts. Then we'll discuss shortcuts for navigation only. After which we'll be discussing shortcuts for formatting cells. And finally we'll discuss about the shortcuts for selection and performing actions. Alright guys, so let's get started. Why keyboard shortcuts play an important role in Microsoft Excel? Now MS Excel is used all around the globe. To name a few areas where MS Excel is used, for example, business analysis, financial analysis, data management, accounting, charting and graphing, and many more. The one thing that is very common in all these areas are the productivity in doing these works. And that's exactly where Excel keyboard shortcuts becomes handy. Now, these keyboard shortcuts helps the user cut short time in doing their works. And in return, it increases the productivity. Increasing the productivity in any company generates revenue. So now, I believe that you guys have understood what is the importance of using keyboard shortcuts in Microsoft Excel. Alright guys, so let's move on to the fun part of the video where we'll be indulging with the shortcut keys. So keyboard shortcut classification. We'll be discussing here the frequently used basic shortcut keys. So here I have listed down the basically used shortcut keys along with the definition and explanation of each shortcut keys and what are its purposes so that you can understand it theoretically. Now I'll be moving on to the live workbook to make you understand how it works practically. Okay, so let's start off with the first shortcut key, that is Ctrl W. Let's see what happens. As soon as I hit the Ctrl W, you can see that my spreadsheet was closed. So in order to open it again, I'll go to the file and click on the worksheet that I was working on. Similarly, Ctrl O is used for opening the worksheet. So if I hit Ctrl O right now, you can see that the file is opening in an open mode. Now here I can see the Excel keys that are Excel spreadsheets that are available, and I'll click on the sheet that I require. Now moving on to Control S. Control is used for saving. So if you have any edits in your live workbook, for example, I just put hello here and hit the enter button. So now if we try to close the workbook, Microsoft Excel will ask a pop-up to save the file. So instead of Microsoft Excel asking us to save, we can go ahead and click the Control S button and then go ahead to close the workbook. So that's easy and simple. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control C. So basically you Control C and Control B, most of you might know it because you might have used it in Microsoft PowerPoint or MS Word, etc. So Control C is basically for copying anything from one cell to another cell, and Control V is used for pasting it. So just now I did copy and pasted it in this cell. Now Control X is used to cut the contents from the cell and then go ahead and paste it wherever you require. So now what exactly is Control Z? So Control Z is, the theoretical explanation is to undo whatever you had done earlier. So if I by mistakenly Control C and I pasted it in different places where I was not supposed to paste it. Okay, so if I want to undo this, I'll just click on Control Z and you can see that it's vanishing off. Now, what is exactly Control Y? Control Y is redo. So whatever I undid, if I want to get it back, you can use the Control Y option. Again, you can see that it's reappearing whatever I did earlier. Now, Control P. Control P is also very common nowadays because you have been using it in maybe in PowerPoint or MS Word. So Control P is basically used to print. You can use this option as a shortcut to print anything that is in your Excel content. So that's all from the frequently used basic shortcuts, and now let's move on to the next category, that is shortcuts for navigation. So under this category, I have listed down the shortcut keys that are used for the navigation purpose on the Excel workbook, and on the right side I have given the theoretical explanations for the roles of each key that it performs. Now let's move on to the live workbook to understand each of these keys practically. So let's get started with the first key, that is the tab key. The tab key is basically used to switch between the cells towards the right side, and shift tab key is basically used to switch between the cells towards the left side. The tab key becomes convenient when the data entry is sideways. For example, if you had to enter the scorecard of a student in sideways direction, for example for 3 subjects, so if I had to enter 3 marks, let's say M1, instead of hitting the enter button, I hit tab, M2, tab, M3, tab. So this way it's very convenient to use the tab key instead of enter key. Up next we have the key, that is enter key. Enter key is basically used to shift between the cells in the downward direction, and shift enter key is used to shift between the cells in the upper direction. Moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control Home and Control End. The Control Home shortcut key is used to move to the beginning of the spreadsheet, and Control End shortcut keys is used to move to the last used cell in the spreadsheet. Now when I hit Control Home, you can see that it has moved to the beginning of the worksheet, and when I hit the Control End, you can see that it has moved to the last cell that has been used in this spreadsheet, that says hey guys. Up next we have the shortcut keys that are page up and page down. Both page up and page down are used to navigate up and down the worksheet. So now currently I'm using the page down button to navigate to the downward direction of the spreadsheet. Now I'm using the page up button to navigate to the upper direction of the workbook. Next we have the shortcut keys that are Control Page Up and Control Page Down. These keys are used to switch between sheets inside a workbook. So basically, Control Page Up moves to the previous sheet and Control Page Down moves to the next sheet. Now I'll go back to the sheet which I was using. For that I will use Control Page Up. That's it. That's the sheet I was using, that is shortcuts for navigation. Now that we have understood the shortcuts for navigation, let's move ahead and understand the next category of shortcuts, that is shortcuts for formatting cells. As you can see on the screen, this is the first set of shortcut keys that are used for formatting the cell, and this is the second set of shortcut keys that are used for formatting the cells. Now, as before, I have given the theoretical explanations on the right for your understanding, and I will be using the same when I will be using these shortcut keys practically on a workbook. Now, let's move ahead and go to the live workbook. So let's start off with the first key, that is the F2 key. So basically the F2 key is used to edit any pre-existing content in a cell. For example, you can see the cell which is written Hey in it. Let's move to that cell and click on the F2 button. You can see that the cursor comes up and we can make the necessary changes. So I'll change it to Hey guys and hit the enter button. So that's the use of F2 key. Moving on, we have the next shortcut key is Control B. Control B is basically used to bold the content inside a cell or a range of cell. Let's go ahead and try it out. Click on the cell and hit Control B. Now let's select a range of cells and hit Control B. Both the content inside a cell and also the range of cells are converted into bold. Now if you had to bring this back to the normal format, just click on the cell and hit Control B again. You can see that the content inside the cell have come to their normal format. In the similar fashion, we have the next two shortcut keys that are Control I and Control U. Control I basically converts the content inside a cell or a range of cell into italics, and Control U helps us underline the content inside a cell or a range of cell. Now let's go ahead and try these two shortcut keys. So first I'll click the cell and enter Control I, and now I'll select the range of cells and hit Control I. As you can see, all the contents have been changed to italics. Now I'll use the Control U shortcut key. Let's see what happens, and as you can see, it has underlined whatever content inside the cell. So that's how these two shortcut keys works. Moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control 1, and as soon as we hit Control 1, you can see a pop-up box comes up. It consists of the different ways that you can format a cell. You can choose any one of these as per your requirements. Next we have the Shift plus F2 shortcut key. Shift plus F2 shortcut key basically adds or edits a comment. So I'll go ahead and hit Shift plus F2, and as you can see, a comment box comes up. I'll hit a comment like hello world and click on the next cell. Now as you can see, when I hover around the cell, the comment box pops up. Now if I had to edit the same comment box, I'll have to use the same shortcut key and make the changes. So that's how Shift and F2 shortcut key works. Next up we have the Control plus T shortcut key. So Control plus T shortcut key is basically used to create a table. Now I'll go ahead and select a range and then hit Control plus T. Now we can see a dialog box that is coming up. They're asking for the source of the table, but Microsoft Excel has already and automatically taken up the source. They're asking me if I require my table as headers. Yes, I'll click on the checkbox and hit OK. And there you go. You can see the table getting formed. Next up, we have the two shortcut keys, that is Control plus semicolon and Control plus Shift plus colon. The Control plus semicolon gives us today's date, and Control plus shift plus colon gives us our current time. So let me go ahead and try these shortcut keys. So as you can see, when I use the shortcut keys, the date, that is 8th of July 2021, and the current time is 1:04, and that's the date and time when this video is recorded. Next up, we have Control plus Shift plus exclamation mark. When applied on the cells, you can see that the cells were applied to number format with having 2 decimal points. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control plus Shift plus $. When applied to the cell, you can see that the cells gets converted into currency format, and that is the use of this shortcut key. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control plus Shift plus %. When applied, the cell gets converted into the percentage mode. So that's all the shortcut keys that is required for the formatting of cells. Now let's move ahead and discuss the next category of shortcut keys, that is shortcuts for selection and performing actions. As you can see on the screen, this is the one set of shortcut keys that is used for selection and performing action. Now moving on to the second set. As you can see on the screen now, this is the second set that is used for the same. And now moving on to the final set of shortcut keys that is used for the selection and performing action. Now, as always before, I have put the theoretical explanations to the role of each shortcut key for your understanding, and I'll be using the same while I'll be explaining it practically on the live workbook. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the live workbook. Now let's get started with the first key, that is Control A. And when I click on Control plus A, you can see that this shortcut key is used to select the entire worksheet. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Shift plus arrow key. So holding on Shift, when I move the arrow keys to different directions, you can see that the range of cell is selected, and this shortcut key is used to select a range of cells. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control plus space. When we do that, you can see an entire column is getting selected. Now when we hit Shift plus space, we can see an entire row is getting selected. So Control plus space and Shift plus space. Control plus space is used for selecting an entire column, and Shift plus space is used for selecting an entire row. So that were the 4 shortcut keys that was for the selection purpose. Now moving on to the next 2 shortcut keys, that is Shift plus F11. Shift plus F11 basically adds a new sheet to the workbook. So as you can see here, there is a new sheet called Sheet 2. Now let's go back to our sheet and now understand what is the next shortcut, that is Control plus N. When you hit Control plus N, you can see the whatever we had in our workbook is blank. No need to worry. It's just a new workbook. As you can see, there is an entire new workbook that is getting created. So let's get back to our workbook. So from these 2 shortcuts, we can understand that Shift plus F11 is used for creating an extra sheet, and Control plus N is used for creating an entire new workbook. Now moving on, if we had to insert any row or column in between any of the cells, just click on the selected row, and then use Control and plus. You can see a new row gets inserted in between them. In the same way, I'll just undo this row. In the same way, if we had to insert any new column in between columns, you will just have to press Control plus, and you can see that a new column is getting created here. So Control plus does insert a row or column in between the rows or column, and now Control minus does the exact vice versa. So basically, when Control plus inserts a column and a row, Control minus removes a column or a row in between a column or a row. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control plus 9. Now observe carefully. When I hit Control plus 9, you can see there is a row that is getting hidden over here. And to get back that row, we need to hit Control Shift plus 9. So basically, a Control plus 9 is used to hide a row, and Control plus Shift plus 9 is used to unhide a row. Next up, we have Alt plus F1. So the shortcut key Alt plus F1 is used for creating charts. And to show and display this use of this shortcut key, we'll select a range of cells and hit Alt plus F1. There you go. You can see a chart that is getting displayed over here. This chart doesn't have any meaning to it because we just used random range of cells to create a chart. Now moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Alt plus Enter. So basically Alt plus Enter is used to enter a new line within a cell. So for example, I'll click Hi and I use Alt plus Enter and I hit Ram. And when I click the enter button, you can see that Hi and Ram are on two different lines, and that's exactly what Alt plus Enter is supposed to do. So moving on, we have the next shortcut key, that is Control plus the tide symbol. So when we hit the Control and tide symbol, we can see that whatever the formulas that were beneath the cell pops up and shows that what all formulas are used inside the cell. So here we can see that earlier it was 55, 5.5, 10 and 1, but beneath it, it was a formula that calculated these totals, that is sum of these two ranges, the average of these two columns, and the maximum value inside this range and the minimum value inside this range. So the Control plus tide shortcut key shows us all the formulas which are underneath the Excel cells. Moving on to the next shortcut key, that is Control plus 5. So basically what Control plus 5 does is it strikes out whatever is there inside a cell. So if I select the cell which is written Hi Ram and hit Control 5, you can see that all the content inside the cell got striked out. And if I had to undo it, you can just click on it and the strikeout disappears. Next we have the shortcut key, that is Control G, and that is used for going to a specified cell. So when you hit Control G, they are asking for a reference. So if I gave H8 as my reference, it moves to the H8 cell and shows that this is the content that is in H8. So that's what Control G, the shortcut key, used for. So moving ahead, we have the next two keyboard shortcuts, that is Control F and Control H. So Control F is basically used to find anything that is on a worksheet. So if I had to find the text that shift inside the spreadsheet, I'll go ahead and type shift and hit find next, and Microsoft Excel finds wherever and shows me wherever shift is there. Now going ahead with Control H. So Control H is basically to find and replace the word that is found with the word that we require it to be replaced with. So I'll replace shift with ace and let's see what happens. I'll hit on the replace all button and they're saying all done. We made 3 replacements. So let's see the 3 replacements, that is ace plus arrow, ace plus space and ace plus F11. So that were the 3 replacements that were made. Now for a time being, I'll undo these to get back to the topic. So now coming to the last and final shortcut key, that is Control plus K. So Control plus K creates a hyperlink to link another file. So let's go ahead and try it out. Click on the cell which is showing Hi Ram and let's say Control plus K. And we can see a pop-up box showing insert hyperlink dialog box. Now let's give a Microsoft Edge and hit OK. Now you can see that the Hi Ram has become a clickable link. Now when we go ahead and click on this, it will show a prompt. We'll give OK and let's see what happens. So there comes the Microsoft Edge workbook. So that's how you create a hyperlink from a Microsoft Excel cell. Alright guys, awesome. So with that, we have come to an end to today's video. So there is one thing that I would like to say to all the new learners, is that Excel keyboard shortcuts comes with practice, and it's only by practice that you will be able to increase your productivity. With that note, I would like to thank all of you for watching the video.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on this video any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.